Welcome to another edition of The Peel. Thank you guys for tuning in to another edition. Wow, I totally screwed that one up and Sean called it. He definitely called it.
And what kind of peel are we?
So...
Banana peel?
Orange. Well, obviously an orange peel.
Well, I think you should say that. Just in case somebody stumbled over this broadcast and they're like, what are we listening to? You know, we're not talking a chemical peel. We're not talking banana peel. We're talking
orange
forever
peel.
Orange peel.
Yes. So let me go ahead and read this off since I already butchered it once. Let me try this again. Thank you guys for tuning in to another edition of The Peel on KTXF-db, The Real, part of the Texas Sports Review Media Network. Thank you to those tuning in on YouTube and Facebook. Go ahead and do us all a favor and give this video a like. Go ahead and share it and subscribe to our channel and get notified when we or Down in the Valley go live. Be sure to follow us on Twitter. Did I start it? Yeah, I did start it. All right.
But they say they can't see us.
There, now they can. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at ThePeel05, like us on Facebook at ThePeel2005, and be sure to check out our website, ThePeelLive.com, provided and hosted by Embrace Fusion Web Services for Business. Lastly, be sure to visit our friends over at Dynamo Theory. Check out their website, dynamotheory.com, and follow them on Twitter at Dynamo Theory for all your Houston Dynamo and Dash news. And now for this week's show. Joining us live in person, the keeper herself, Jen Cooper.
Glad to be here.
Yeah.
Glad to have a voice after some sinus issues, so I have my Kathleen Turner voice on. So excited to talk Dash. I mean, finally,
yes.
Preseason kicked off yesterday. I went out to practice today, and I mean, it's only 2 days in, but I feel like we're in a whole new era of the Houston Dash. Vera Powell, I've talked to her a couple times. She has a very clear idea of what she wants to do, and I think it's very different from, obviously, Rainey Waldrum, but also a lot of the teams in NWSL. So who knows? This could be incredibly successful. It could be incredibly weird. It could be both. It could be not so successful, but I am fascinated to see how it plays out. Just the vibe today at practice, second day, but like it seemed loose. It seemed comfortable. It didn't seem chaotic having a good 30 plus players, many of whom are, like have just come to town,
Yeah.
She's just getting to know these players. You're obviously in a very early stage of experimentation. But it's clear she has a plan. I don't think she's necessarily going to tell us what her plan is.
Yes.
But she's got a plan.
Well, do you think a lot of that, I mean, not that he really plays a role, maybe it's just the organization. Wilmer does the same thing. Wilmer doesn't talk very much about what his plans are. He's very quiet about everything. Hello, I mean, his practices are closed except for like the last 15 minutes practice.
Well, and I think that the bulk of her coaching experience, having been national teams, where you generally don't have day-to-day interaction with the press. And granted, it's not like there's a huge press contingent out there, but I think there is going to be an adjustment of like, hey, if the Chronicle's out there, obviously, Dash want you talking to them. I mean, the front office wants you, interacting and sharing information. So I think there will be an adjustment, but I think there's also that frankness, which with her being Dutch, and I mean this in a great way.
Yeah.
I met her in Philly when I was there for the draft, and one of the things I said to her, I said, you must be so excited about the Dutch winning the Women's Euro last summer. And she goes, yes, I was responsible for that.
At least she's honest.
And what she meant by that, and she did explain, because obviously she wasn't the coach.
Yeah.
But she's like, I launched the Dutch Women's League that led to developing those players. And she even continued, she said, I really thought we would win in 2013, but I guess 2017 is okay. So you gotta love that.
Yeah.
The Dutch bluntness that just like, hey, here it is. This is what I'm thinking. This is how it's going to be done. Yeah. And I'm excited that that's in a whole new era for the Dash, especially as we're coming into a very, I would say, a new era for the league.
We'll definitely get more into the Dash and NWSL, and I wanted to ask you also when we get to that part about. Well, actually, we could start this one now. Is with the election that just happened with Carlos Cadera getting elected. What do you see for women's soccer, NWSL? What does his appointment mean to it all?
From what little I know and have read of Carlos Cordero, I think he's a good choice in that he was already someone before it was even thought that Sunil wouldn't run, who had been talking about, hey, not only do we need to bid for the 2026 World Cup, we need to bid for the 2027 Women's World Cup. So he was someone who I think was already on board with the, hey, we've got two great programs here, not just one. That being said, I don't think we're going to see a lot of focus on the women in terms of changes, because obviously the biggest piece of the puzzle that I think the new president is charged with is hiring a GM for the men's team, hiring a coach for the men's team, launching that, when I don't think you really need to mess with a women's team.
No.
And for the most part, yes, the U.S. Soccer subsidizes NWSL, and I'm sure they have a hand in some decisions, but NWSL does, I would say for the most part, run itself. So it's, I think, less of their concern as long as things are going well, if that makes sense. So yes, there will be a GM for the women's team as well, but all of that is going to follow once, because obviously on the men's side, you're more pressing. There's not even a coach. Yeah. So, you need to solve some of those problems and just make sure the women keep getting the support they're getting. And one of the things that I like that Carlos said was, yes, there's equal pay issues that need to be addressed, but one of the details he brought up was, he's like, the fact that the players' associations negotiate in different years is problematic.
Yeah.
Because people have brought up, it's like, oh, the men got this per diem and the women got this per diem. It's like, well, the men had just renegotiated. The women didn't renegotiate for another year, so you have that year where things are off. So I like that here's someone that's paying attention to the details. Like, hey, even if they don't want to negotiate together the way that some federations do, like Australia, it's men and women together negotiating, but at least they could do it in the same year so that there's an easier way to make sure that things are equitable.
Kind of like apples to apples comparison.
Yeah.
Now, Hope Solo brought this up during the election, and I guess I never really paid attention to it that much, but could you see a day where, or hopefully within the next year or so, where the women are not playing as many matches as the men are? I mean, they played 23 some odd matches, the women's national team, and the men's national team played like 8. And they're making less, the women's team.
Yes and no. Well, one, the program funds itself by hosting those home matches. You'll notice that not only are they playing that many matches, they're playing that many matches at home. One of the reasons they've stopped going to the Algarve Cup and instead they're doing She Believes Cup is they can make so much more money hosting, England, France, Germany, than flying over to Portugal, spending all that money. There's no award money that comes with that. There's no funding that comes from that. Unlike men's soccer is advanced enough where, say, Poland invites U.S. Soccer to come over and play a match in Poland, there's probably a payment with that. Yeah. And that's only just around one match. So it's a double-edged sword where I see her point of they're playing too many games, but when U.S. Soccer covers the cost of those games and the players' CBA states that the players themselves make money off those games per ticket sold. Yeah. So it's that kind of thing. Like, we need to see the push to the next level, that there's more investment into trying to sell the marketing rights of those games. Right now, we know it's all bundled together, which brings you the whole kind of sum debacle. And other ways to pay for it, and also to get away from the concept of that it has to pay for itself, because if the men's soccer weren't profitable, they'd still be sinking millions of dollars into it. It's the same thing as like college football, where they're like, oh yeah, we could spend millions of dollars because you can make a lot of money off of football. It's like, well, you can, but it doesn't mean you're gonna. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I guess my thing is, where's the trade-off when it's one of those, these women are putting so many minutes on their body in a year, and then you've got qualifying for the World Cup coming up. I mean, there's got to be the trade-off where, yes, it funds itself, but you also got to think logically with, do we want to make sure we are in the best position to win the World Cup?
Yeah,
and you can't do that on tired legs.
Yeah, and you have to try to avoid also, injuries coming from
or playing on turf and blowing up your knee.
Don't even get me started.
Yeah,
on the
well,
turf.
that's one of the reasons I'm glad that we've seen the NWSL schedule adjust, so that you like the first season the Dash were in. It was so incredibly cramped schedule, trying to play 24 games in a really condensed period. So they would have like 3 games in 8 days with incredible travel, and so it's like we've seen it spread out. It's a much better schedule. They're kind of honoring, the FIFA windows. I would like to see on the U.S. soccer side that they respect those windows too. So my point there is all of the national team players that are on the She Believes roster, they've already joined the national team. The FIFA window doesn't start for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Technically, none of these NWSL teams should have to release those players, but they did.
Do you think for them it was more of how bad they want to grow the sport as a whole and releasing these players and getting their brand and their name out there too? I mean,
no, it's you don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it comes from on the U.S. soccer side. This is just my opinion. I think it comes from the misguided thing of like, oh, I need to have these players as much as possible. I'm like, really? You just had them for 3 weeks in January. What is these 2 extra days going to be? It's like, and it's almost the same group of people. There's nothing new. I think back to 2015 where the players left a month before the World Cup started. Could you imagine for the men if the teams left a month before the World Cup started to join their national teams?
I mean, MLS already has bad attendance problems as it is.
But that's different because I mean, like, they're still playing the league, during the World Cup. But even think on the European side, like you have Premier League. Premier League runs, till mid-May. You've got the Champions League final. There's not this, we all have to take a month off to prep. It's like, what the, and I see Hope Solo's point of like, how much do we have to play? But let me also counter that with some of the claims she's made about, Tim Howard only did this and got paid this. I did this and got paid this. Well, let me also put it out that her World Cup qualifying last cycle, she only had to play 4 games and make 1 save, all home matches, in a 12-day span to qualify for the World Cup. She made 1 save. All right? She allowed no goals.
Yeah.
She made 1 save. The men, to qualify, played 28 matches in 14 different countries, spread over 2 years. Tim Howard making 39 saves. And I'm not saying
Jen dropping stats.
I'm not saying you say for every save you get this much money, but it comes down to, like you said, apples to apples. It's not apples to apples. And I think it's crap that most of the confederations are still having a World Cup tournament crammed into 2 weeks. And I think that's part of her argument. Is like, this is, this isn't right. Though U.S. still benefits from, they're going to keep doing the qualifying tournament here because you can make money off of doing it here. We know the fans will come out here. Unlike 2010, I flew down to Cancun, watched 3 games in a week for 40 pesos per game.
Edson,
that was awesome. As opposed to like front row ticket in Philly for the semifinal in 2014 was $800. So you see what? So it's not apples to apples yet. I'm not sure how long it's going to be till it is apples to apples. So I see some of her arguments. I don't agree with all of them.
Yeah. When we get back, we do got to take a break.
What? I don't get to keep talking forever.
Well, you can.
Okay.
Due to radio and FCC, we do have to take breaks. You guys are listening to The Peel on KTXF-db, the real part of the Texas Sports Review Media Network. When we get back, we'll pick up more on this conversation. We'll start diving into the upcoming women's national team matches, dash call-ups, all that good stuff. And the She Believes Cup, which is right around the corner. Finally, some more meaningful soccer. I love it. When we get back.
And Phil Neville's first.
You're listening to The Peel on KTXF-db, The Real, a Texas Sports Review Media Network. Listen to us every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time on KTXF KTXF-db The Real via the TuneIn app on your smartphone or via tunein.com.
Thank you guys for tuning in to another edition of the Peel on KTXF-db The Real, part of the Texas Sports Review Media Network. Thank you to everyone tuning in on YouTube and Facebook as well. Go ahead and give this video a like and share and subscribe to our channel. Before we left, we were talking about women's soccer, how Carlos Cordero plays into all of it. Sean, it'd probably be nice if I unmuted you.
That's okay.
And all that other stuff. First off, because I forgot to do it, besides Jen, because it's Jen, she doesn't need any introduction. I'm Justin.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Edson.
There we go. We didn't.
And they're my bitches.
You know what? I'm okay with that. I'm 100% okay with that. Jen Cooper.
Really can't argue it.
Jen Cooper. The rest of the Houston media.
Did you pause CCL or did it?
No, it's go 90. What do you expect?
I was just asking. Okay. All right, back to soccer that matters. Women's soccer time.
Yes, women's soccer time.
Most of the time.
Like I said before we left, we were talking women's soccer. Carlos Cordero, Hope Solo playing a ton of games, complaining about it, comparing Tim Howard and
Okay,
Jen
so I
dropping
have
stats.
to drop another stat.
Okay.
Because it just cracked me up. Summer 2016 when they made such a big deal about her getting 100 shutouts and saying she broke the record, and it's like no one in the world had more than 80. So it's like 100 wasn't really breaking the record. It was more just like, getting to that milestone where all, we're a very kind of decibel kind of place. We're all about the milestones. But so I'm like, no one had 99. Like, and nowhere in any of the press releases did it even say who like the other people with top shutouts were. I think like Buffon was the closest that I could find, but it was just like, okay, whatever, and then they ceremoniously, like, all right, we got your 100 shutouts. All right, game over. Yeah. And did you notice the January match against Denmark? They honored Hope Solo pre-game, and I thought that was so strange. But I'm guessing that they had resolved whatever her complaint was.
About to ask that, and I mean, it's not like it was just one small thing out of her mouth. She threw the coach under the bus. She threw the league under the bus. She threw women's soccer under the bus. Everybody.
No, I don't think we need to rehash what she said against Sweden.
Yes.
I can totally understand why a team would cut her. Cutting her for that and trying to say it was just that when it was really an accumulation is that's more the issue. But what I found was strange was that, like, wait, a year and a half later, now you're going to recognize her for 200 caps. It's traditional that you recognize a player on those milestones, but you can't do it if it's at the Olympics or the World Cup because that's not your game. So, they would have done it at a friendly post-Olympics. Obviously, she wasn't on the team. So I think they must have settled some kind of complaint. But I was like, a year and a half later, like, you're finally...
Do you think all that came out partially because she was running?
No.
You don't think they have any correlation?
I think it was related to, because she had filed some kind of grievance to her. So I think it was the grievance being resolved. And who knows if the resolution was you're going to honor me like you honored everybody else because you denied me that opportunity.
So we can close the book on Hope Solo.
Yeah.
Because I want to talk about better things.
Yeah.
Do you see her playing again in NWSL?
And then he asked another Hope Solo question.
But that's my last thing
he said
with
before,
Hope.
so he was closing it with that.
Okay. I could see her playing again in NWSL, most likely for Laura Harvey, just because she seems to have had a really great relationship with Laura Harvey. That being said, she hasn't played since she had the shoulder replacement surgery. She has said that she's had offers in Europe. I could totally see her playing again, but that's up to her. Seattle still holds her rights.
Yes.
So that would be the team that would control where she goes if she came back to NWSL.
I know we don't want to rehash this issue any further, but man, she absolutely slugged the Athletes Council after, as soon as she withdrew, she went for the throat. She literally, I don't know if you got to listen to what she said, but it was, I'll summarize it for you. Did you get to hear it?
No.
Oh, this is fantastic. Oh, God. This is...
And this is okay, because this is less about her, and this is more about the U.S. Soccer.
It is.
And
It
there's some other issues I have, yeah.
So she said, summarized, again, Sean paraphrasing, so I'm not exactly right, but she basically said, I'm really disappointed in the Athletes Council. I would have expected them to be able to make their own decisions individually as individuals instead of voting as a block. It's really disappointing because we've seen this time and time again. It's been that way since before I was involved, while I was involved, and it's going to be that way for a while. How many times have you listened
to that, to say that almost word for word?
Like, it's not almost word for word, but I've listened to it 4 or 5 times because it's fantastic stuff. Yeah. But, I mean, she literally went for the jugular of the Athletes Council, and I just wonder how much that's going to hurt her chance of returning here in NWSL.
They have no control over that.
No, but you have to play with these players.
No, those are retired players. You can't be on the Athletes Council unless you're retired.
Okay, that's a little different.
Yeah, those are retired players.
But yeah,
those are not active.
She absolutely went for the jugular against them, and Stu Holden had to come out and counter those arguments with some statements. I didn't get to hear all of his counters, but man, he was not a happy camper.
I was surprised. I mean, there were a lot of people on Twitter. They're like, "Why did they vote as a block? That's so stupid." It's like, well, if they didn't, they wouldn't have been able to control who won. They knew.
Yeah.
Rightly, they knew that if they voted as a block, they could prevent Kathy Carter
from getting
they
were really looking at it as
and I know having talked to Ellie Wagner,
it's called the Electoral College. It's the same process.
It's politics.
I know having talked to Ellie Wagner that she was frustrated early on hearing the discussions of let's vote as a block, because she's like, no, I want to vote on my own. But it sounds like they spent long time talking about it, and probably as a group resolved, it's like, hey, if we want to get the most out of this election, we have to recognize the power that we have, that we're a constituency that people need to approach as well. And we know that if they didn't vote as a block, Kathy Carter would be U.S. Soccer president.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So
that's a given. So
I
don't know what she's complaining about, because it wouldn't have.
So there was one thing that came out this week, and I highlighted it myself to make sure we talked about it. I'm glad we talked about the Athletes Council, because it's what reminded me of this. So it has come out that Carlos Bocanegra is now up for general manager of U.S. Men's National Soccer Organization, essentially, because it's going to be more than the national team.
Right.
And the question is, it has an air of, I won't go as far as to say collusion, but it has an air of Carlos Cordero kind of doing the
favors,
and I mean, I know he doesn't have the full sway of the Athletes Council because they are individuals and they'll make the decision together.
And they don't necessarily get decisions on that kind of stuff.
Well, no.
What do you mean?
What I'm saying is, he holds.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
so because they did that.
Yeah, maybe he would. The question comes into play from a political standpoint of, did Carlos Cordero in their discussions, specifically his discussions with Carlos Bocanegra, did this come up as, hey, I'm pushing for this, or hey, we've approved and we're going through the process of beginning to search for a general manager for the U.S. Men's National Soccer Organization? Is this something you'd be interested in? And kind of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge kind of thing. Like, I mean, it just, here's the problem, right?
I think there's always going to be that in U.S. soccer, because our community is so small and so interconnected, and people play so many different roles. And that includes myself. I mean, I'm this weird hybrid of kind of media, kind of broadcast, kind of behind the scenes, kind of fan,
everything.
kind of, so it's not as clean cut as our larger mainstream sports, where,
Absolutely.
hey, if I'm a baseball reporter, I am only a baseball reporter. I don't serve any other role.
Victor says that Bocanegra is staying with Atlanta United.
That doesn't mean anything. He could take both roles. I mean, we've seen coaches.
God, I hope. But see, I want to get away from that. It's bugged me for years that Sunil was U.S. Soccer president and also on New England's payroll.
Taking on the multiple roles.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
And New England's been garbage.
Hey, Tigres scored a goal. It's just been,
Tigres. Offside.
It just, well, the goal is already stood.
Oh, okay. That's a different one.
But it's just interesting to me because, and I've actually said this before. It's necessary for the way that soccer politics are right now, and probably will be for the foreseeable future, because the overlying entity that controls soccer in the world is FIFA, and it is how FIFA operates. We may not like it as fans, we may not like it as the 99%.
But it's not like there's
whatever.
a different. There's not like there's a different soccer federation you can go to. It's,
Absolutely, and also, I think to some degree we should also take into consideration as fans that just because it is this way doesn't mean that necessarily these people are doing it out of their best interests specifically. I do think that Carlos Bocanegra cares about the U.S. Soccer Federation program in general. I really do believe that. He's a good person.
Yeah.
Well, and any of these former players that are going into administrative jobs or even coaching jobs, like no one's getting rich off of that.
Oh no,
So there's a lot of love of the game there, and that's why I liked the candidates like Steve Gans, where here's someone who's been volunteering for 30 years. Like his livelihood's not coming from it, but he's so dedicated to the game. Yeah,
I mean there were candidates across the spectrum in terms of experience and leadership experience and business experience and
how perverse is it that there were 2 female candidates and I didn't want either one of them to win?
You were not the only one.
No,
that was like the worst possible.
Yeah, especially after Foudy wrote this great piece for The Guardian in the fall about how we're not going to see a female U.S. soccer president, and this is why. And then you have the perfect candidate.
You're not going to see one if you continue to put out candidates like that.
But it's funny that in a way Kathy Carter running was contrary to Foudy saying, because here was a player that was financially independent enough, a candidate financially independent enough to do that. But it is rare, because generally the people that can afford to do that are going to be men in their 50s, which was a fair amount of the candidates. But it was so hard. I'm like, there's 2 women running, and I don't want either one of them to win. But I have to say, I appreciated that Hope Solo brought up a lot of topics that needed to be out there.
Uncomfortable topics.
I don't think she always brought them up in the best way, but that's not her.
She was very blunt about
a
lot of
things.
things.
That's a good word there, but yeah.
Well, and I think some of the things she brings up are small enough and drama queeny enough that it blocks her really good content. Like one of the things she complained about on Twitter, like the Friday night before the election, she's like, "Oh, thanks for this updated, voters list, U.S. Soccer." It's like,
I saw that.
It's like
the ballot list thing too.
Yeah, it's like, no, that's U.S. Soccer actually giving you an update so you know if anything's changed. But like that's, so
it's called process and procedure that is like required in the bylaws. But let's ignore those.
Yeah, like they're trying to do things by the book, but it's that kind of thing, that those little pieces hide what she actually has, to contribute. And I also thought it was interesting that so much of her media work up to the election was to the mainstream media, and it's like, these are not people that are voting. These are not people engaged.
Well, and it was like Eric Winalda, his, a lot of his campaign was Twitter, which that's not going to garner you the percentages you need.
No.
It's
unless you're engaging with the Athletes Council, all the youth federations, the adult it's a behind the scenes thing. And I was kind of waiting for someone on Twitter to say, like, my tax dollars shouldn't pay for this. I don't know if anybody did, but I was so ready to be like, dude, your tax dollars don't go to this. This is funded by player registration, sponsorships, you buying tickets, coaching licenses, you buying merch. Like, there's no tax money.
No. None at all.
Coming in, but I was so ready
for someone to say that. They're not getting any love from the government, other than them being a nonprofit governing. Yeah.
It reminded me of as we were trying to get the Dynamo Stadium built, and people would be like, they'd write letters to the Chronicle saying, "I don't want my taxes to go for that," and to be signed Missouri City, Texas, Sugar Land, Texas. I'm like, you're not City of Houston. It wouldn't affect you. But,
not at all.
So you guys are listening to the PO on KTXF-db, the real part of the Texas Sports Review Media Network. When we get back, we'll talk Dash call-ups, we'll talk She Believes Cup, and we'll move into Dynamo news.
Dynamo, who's that?
Oh.
Shade.
Oh. I think that's the men's soccer team. I might be wrong.
Grosso.
Though.
I've heard about this.
Grosso.
Yeah. They don't get the respect.
Bueno, soy Alejandro Mayor y me están escuchando por Adepida.
Thank you guys for tuning in to another edition of The Peel on KTXF-db, The Real, part of the Texas Sports Review Media Network. Thank you to everyone tuning in on YouTube and Facebook. Go ahead and give this video a like and share it and subscribe to our channel. Before we left, we were talking about more Hope Solo. And
but we are moving on now.
Yes, we are. We are finally going to move
the
on.
keeper,
No,
who
yes.
appreciates Francisco telling me that Dynamo's the team that's made the playoffs. I hear the shade in that.
Your shade was still bigger than everybody else's. I don't care what Cisco has to say.
So let's talk stash.
Yeah. Well,
Before we get to Broso, right?
okay. Did you want to tell your little?
Yeah, I'll tell my little nasty anecdote
Yeah.
that I thought about during the break. Because
Listener discretion
yeah,
advised.
listener discussion
If you
advice.
are, if you are,
Under 13.
under 13, and or your parents don't, for whatever reason, don't allow you to listen to bad words, please step away.
Back in the day when I was first invited to be a guest on the Orange Slice, which was on 1560 The Game before they were Yahoo Sports Radio. At first I was kind of like a regular guest, and then they got squeezed from 2 hours to 1 hour, and they're like, well, we still want you to be involved, but we'll just have you as like the women's soccer correspondent, which of course pissed me off. And I'm like, hey, I can speak, men's soccer just as much as you can, but whatever, it was their show. They get to decide that. So they're like, well, we want you to do women's soccer, and we want you to come up with a good name for the segment. So I thought Double X Factor, which, just in case those of you who haven't finished 10th grade biology, women have 2 X chromosomes, men have an XY. But I said that to the guys. And they're like, what does that mean?
What?
And they said, we have a better name.
Scroll chat down.
They said, we want to call it Girl on Girl Action with Jen Cooper.
Ouch.
And I just,
Wow.
I didn't
Wow.
react. I didn't react. I just said, sure. Okay, I'm going to say something really bad. I said, sure, as long as we can call the Serie A segment Sucking Italian Cock with John Smith. And they looked at me and they're like, she said cock. They totally didn't hear what I said. They're just like, oh my God, she said cock. So suffice to say, we never named the segment Girl on Girl Action with Jen Cooper, but many weeks later, we were doing a show, and the two guys were out of the studio, and they're like, "Oh, just bring us back from commercial. Go ahead, do your women's soccer segment now." And so I said, "And we're back with Jen Cooper breaking up all this guy-on-guy action and bringing you the latest in women's soccer." They ran back into the studio quicker than I've ever seen. They're like, "You said man on man." I'm like, "How is that different from girl on girl action?"
Wow.
But I'm just saying, equal opportunity offender.
Maybe it needed to be boy on boy action.
No, but like I could use that too when it was like the Manchester Derby, man-on-man action. It was so natural.
Oh, that's perfect.
Like Barcelona that year they won. 2009 they won 6 titles. We were calling it the Sex Cup.
Cisco wants to ask.
So let me actual legit question. Here.
Justin's really nervous now.
Go ahead, read this. This is fantastic.
Yes, Cisco wants to ask, when it comes to women's soccer, is there a difference between having a man coach or a woman's coach? Female
Do you mean
coach.
have
rephrase
like
that.
biblically?
Having a male coach opposed to a female coach. Do the players respond differently from one over the other?
I think that's a great question, and that's something that when I was still working at Rice and Rice launched varsity soccer about 15 years ago, I actually asked their head coach about that, and she was a woman, obviously being a she, but she said that she made a point to always have one male assistant coach and one female assistant coach because she wanted the players to be comfortable so that whatever they were used to being coached by, whether it had been a woman growing up or a guy coach growing up, that they had their comfort zone. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
I do still think we have a bias towards a men's coach, and when I say we, I would even say we as women. Like when I was playing rec soccer, it seemed like we could only find a guy to be a volunteer coach for us, because any woman that was available that much, well, we wanted her on the team, and we didn't want a player coach situation.
Gotcha.
Makes sense. And obviously that's much different from a professional. But bottom line, I think a good coach is a good coach, and they're all going to have their little style things, So I don't think one is better or worse, but I think like someone who's really a good coach is bottom line a good coach.
It shouldn't matter what you have between your legs, honestly. If you can coach the game, you should coach. I can't wait to see the day when there is a woman in MLS coaching. I mean, I don't think we'll probably ever see it because people are weird. But
I think we're getting there. I mean, we're starting to see, like in NFL, you're sort of like there's some assistant staff. We've had women referee.
We've had
MLS.
We've had a lady coach at the San Antonio Spurs. Was there?
Yeah.
Like a
I don't think it's going to be a quick thing.
No.
And I don't think it's going to be a dramatic thing. But for me, is as much as I want to see more women coach and more women referee, I would like to see it get to that point where it doesn't matter whether it's men or women.
It's just not a big deal at all.
Like I appreciate that what FIFA's done with the Women's World Cup the last several iterations is make sure it's an all-female crew because women do not get very many opportunities to referee those top games. Yeah. But I'd like to see it evolve to, it's like, hey, whoever the best referees are, male or female, I want them in the game. But of course, that would require a change at FIFA where you don't have someone like a stupid Sepp Blatter going, oh, well, men and women shouldn't ref together because there could be problems at home. Like, what planet are you on? And that totally goes against, there's actually a husband and wife ref couple in NWSL. How cool is that?
That is
really
pretty
cool.
awesome.
That's pretty
So,
anyway.
some big, I don't know if I'd say big news,
And we're
but
still not talking about the dash
No.
or She Believes.
So She Believes Cup starts March 1st. U.S. women's national team have had their February camp. It's about to close. Kristen Press and Jane Campbell were both called up. Press is 29, has 97 appearances, 44 goals. Got her first cap 2013. I can't believe it's been that long. And I know you were saying...
I like he's pretending that he knows these stats off the top of his head.
I don't.
I know, but like, of course, the video would show otherwise.
Yeah.
Well, also because I forget. I mean, I could forget things that happened to me 2 seconds ago. I got to write everything down.
Yeah.
And also the Dynamo do a very good job at emails and the dash. Campbell, who is 22, got 2 caps, 23.
As of this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
yeah, it was a
then
few
it
days
wasn't
ago.
updated. First cap 2017. I was at her second one against Russia.
No, that was her first.
That was her first?
That was her first in Houston.
Yes.
She like.
What was her second then?
She came last New Zealand, I think, sometime in the fall.
Okay.
But she came on too quickly, and the ref was like, no, Ashlyn Harris has to come off first. Yeah. So you were there for her first.
Yes. Which those chants were funny. I don't know. I just don't like Russia. So that whole match was just great.
I don't remember. What were the Russian?
We beat Russia to the moon. And that was the TIFO too.
Oh, that's perfect in Space City.
Oh, it is. It was great. Like, normally I'm very critical on the coverage of women's soccer or the fandom around women's soccer from an AO perspective, but they did that one right. Even though there might have only been about 2,000 people in the seats. Yeah. It was fun. It was pretty good atmosphere.
One of my favorite TIFOs from AO for women's game, Philly 2014, the semifinals and CONCACAF qualifying, which is the game where they, clinch a berth to the Women's World Cup. They had Betsy Ross sewing her own U.S. soccer jersey.
That's pretty awesome.
It was brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was that in Philly?
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes sense.
It was perfect.
Darby says the show will never return from its innuendos this evening.
She ain't wrong.
No, she's not. So, talking about the She Believes Cup, first match is March 1st against Germany at Matt Free Stadium up in Columbus, soon to be a closed soccer stadium. Joking. Hopefully not. I know, it's a shame.
So we got Germany, then we got France, then we
Red
got
Bull Arena
England.
March 4th, England and Orlando City March 7th. Germany, who has been runners-up the last 2 years, do you think they still finish the same position, or do you think...
I wouldn't approach it from that angle. I would approach it from what I think is interesting how they do the schedule. Each year they cycle it through so that we're playing the teams in a different order.
Okay.
So that you're not, it's something different. And when it's a 4-team round robin tournament, I think third or fourth kind of second, like it means less really than really who comes out on top because it ends up being so close.
Yeah.
It's not teams 1 through 4 anymore because I think Canada now is sitting in number 4, but it's still like your top teams in the world. What I'm fascinated about is, okay, Steffi Jones has now had the Germany squad tour herself for a year now. All right. So, I mean, last year was kind of a crapshoot. She's taken over the squad from Sylvia Neid. You know, and it's great to see a former famous Germany player, you know, not related to Jermaine Jones, just to be clear.
Thank God.
You know, to see what she's going to do with that squad when historically, they've had so many great players, but they've seen a lot of them retire due to injury or other reasons. And then you have France, which has lost a couple of famous players, but is still so deep. Didn't have the Euro they thought they'd have, but such a talented team. And, you know, they won this tournament last year, which was like the first time they had really, you know, won a title. But what's going to be most fascinating to me is England, because so we have Phil Neville. And speaking of, you know, Francisco's question of, you know, male coach versus female coach, that England hires not only a guy who hasn't coached women's soccer before, but a guy who barely has any coaching experience. Like I said this on my podcast, like, I'm not really bothered by the fact that he hasn't coached women's soccer. I think the right coach can transition between the two. If you're talking national teams, I think it would be much harder league-wise. But the fact that he has almost no coaching experience is just bizarre. So it was at least somewhat heartening to see that as soon as he took the job, like, he was actively going to FAWSL games, and you know, the players he called up, they came out with the roster today. There are a few new names on the list, so that'll be interesting to see. And of course, we really hope, Dash fans, you know, that Rachel Daly will get a look. I think we might see her play defense a little bit more often because she has more of a chance with the English national team playing defense than forward.
She's listed on the Dash preseason roster or whatever as a fullback this year. So,
but keep in mind, the way the league releases preseason rosters does not allow for any combos. It doesn't allow for a D/M, M/F. So
D/F.
Yeah. So and I heard this from Vera today. It's like, in Vera's mind, she's a slash player.
Yeah, she can play both. She can play both.
So it's nothing said at this point, but you know that's a possibility,
that makes sense.
Especially considering for Rachel that she, you know, would very much love to be part of that England squad.
It seems to me, just based off the few individuals that I've listened to talk about their experiences with Vera so far, that Vera would have probably taken into consideration Rachel's desire to shift into a fullback role for her national team, and maybe wants to give her that opportunity to get and grow in that role to help her national team exposure. Well, because I feel like she cares. Like, I don't know why.
Having coached so many national teams, I would think.
I guess what I'm getting at, and not to say that Randy wasn't this way too, but I feel like Vera has this level of caring about an individual player that, frankly, in NWSL, as far as I've seen otherwise, Laura Harvey may be an exception, but genuinely cares about the players almost more so than she cares about some other things. Like, she's willing to do what's in the best interest of the player versus necessarily doing what's in the best interest of whatever may be going on. In this case, I think it's in the best interest of both anyways, but I kind of get that vibe. I kind of get that sense.
But I would also say part of it is the, hey, let's be open to whatever. You know, it's the only second day of preseason. You know, she's made it clear, reading the article that Corey Ripken had in the Chronicle, where she's like, hey, just because you have a contract doesn't mean you're guaranteed anything, you know, so just really open-minded.
Yeah, well, I think maybe what I'm trying to get at is that she's the open-minded thing, and then being able to say, okay, how can we use that? And then also, I think maybe from a player aspect, they see that and they go, you know what, that's the situation I want to be in. I don't want to be dictated to. I want to be involved in my own player growth. I want to be involved in my development as a player, because that, in my best interest, can be in my best interest, if that coach is not necessarily a world-renowned player development coach. So that's kind of what I'm getting at, I think.
I hear you. With She Believes, one of the reasons I love this tournament is having three intense games in what, 7-8 days?
Yeah, really quick.
Yeah. And I know our fans can get apoplectic when the US doesn't win, but it's like these games are so valuable regardless of the result. That you're playing 3 opponents like that in short order at basically the beginning of your season. You know, you're not at your peak. It's just it's a great thing to have. I'm interested to see down the line if maybe the teams we invite change, like because I feel like Canada's knocking on that door of like, hey, why aren't I invited? No.
Past the teams that we have.
No, because with the FIFA window that's late February, March,
you just don't have enough time.
It's perfect for a 4-team tournament, and then it keeps it like really tight, really elite, best competition. It doesn't need to get bigger than that, but I'm just wondering, like, will it evolve as top teams come and go, or was this a 3-year contract with England, France, Germany? Who knows?
A couple more things before we take our next break. We're going to push that break back just a little bit. Lindsay Agnew and
Nichelle.
Okay, Nichelle. That's what I was
Nichelle,
yeah.
just like
Nichelle
Michelle,
Prince,
just with an N.
Was also called up by Canada for the
Algarve Cup.
Yep, Algarve Cup.
Yeah.
What do you want to see out of Jane Campbell and her growth this year between the U.S. Women's National Team, which we need?
Okay, so we're going to talk in Algarve, but you're going to ask me who Jane Campbell.
That was the weirdest segue transition.
No,
that was not a segue.
I was just listing them all, saying that they got called up because
his notes.
All right. Well, let me say one thing about the Canadians. The awesome thing about Lindsay Agnew is she's an American citizen, so she does not take an international spot.
Nice.
Hugely important.
Yes.
So that's a cool thing. And I was really pleased with Nichelle's season last year. So I think she'll be a big part of Canada going forward. Jane Campbell, I think this could really be her year. She played 16 of the 24 matches for the Dash last year. You throw out the awful game where she kind of got thrown under the bus in a way at the beginning of the season. And, what a dynamic player. I still feel like, however, though, that and U.S. Soccer does this with a lot of players on the men's side too, where someone has just decided, like, you are the goalkeeper of the future. Yeah. You are the forward of the future. So I think it's interesting that she got an allocation spot. She's now a subsidized U.S. Soccer contracted player. Adrianna French, who had the best goals against average last season, still holds the league record for goals against average. Just set a new record for shutouts in a season. Like, doesn't get the allocation or even a call up to She Believes. Yeah. Now, Jill Ellis made us believe on the conference call last week that she's, holding a slight injury, but based on what we're seeing from Portland's Twitter feed this week, you're not really seeing an injury. So it's that kind of thing. It's like, okay, why can't we just have 4 keepers on the list? And again, since no one has sued since the latest CBA was signed, we don't know the details of it. But it frustrates me. Except I think Jane's going to have a great season. I think she's going to have a great future. But it frustrates me that you have to pick one player over the other like that when we all know depth in goalkeepers is one of the things that America's always been great about. Why should we waste that? Yeah. Jill Ellis even said on the conference call last week, oh, yeah, Alyssa Nair's going to play all 3 games for She Believes. I'm like, why would you say that 2 weeks out? And, like, what the hell? Can you give Ashlyn Harris 1 game, please?
Yeah.
So.
Also, before I forget, the Dash will also be taking on the U.S. Women's U23s March 11th in Portland for a preseason match.
Nice. Well, they're part of that whole Portland tournament. Yes. That's going to be great. So they'll play Chicago and Portland. Sadly, it doesn't sound like those games will be streamed because they've moved them over to the University of Portland due to the construction of Providence Park. They might do the Portland ones only and skip the non-Portland ones. Fingers crossed. We at least get to see one of them. Yeah. But I know I talked to U.S. Soccer. They're not planning to stream the U.S. ones unless Portland's already doing it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sean.
Oh, is it my read time?
Yep, it's your read time.
All right. The U.S. Women's National Team take on Mexico on April 8th at 12:30 p.m. And you can join AO Houston and Keeper Notes for an American Outlaws party at the Phoenix the night before. That's April 7th. Keeper Notes will be hosting U.S. Women's National Team trivia, playing classic U.S. Women's National Team videos, and a raffle will be held. You must be present to win. American Outlaws pre-match tailgate will be held at Lucky's Pub from 10:30 a.m. until noon before the match on April 8th. American Outlaws will have a dedicated supporters section, and the ticket link will be updated once tickets are available. AO Houston will have stickers, shirts, scarves, beer mugs, koozies, and shot glasses available at the night before party. They will take either cash or credit card, or you can pre-order at aohouston.com. Looking to join others in supporting the U.S. national soccer teams? Sign up for an American Outlaws membership at www.theamericanoutlaws.com/membership. U.S. fans of all ages are welcome.
And
Hey, this is AJ De La Garza. You're listening.
When it comes to the Phoenix, I'm not going to do them now.
Snap. Shameless plug right there.
Hey, this is AJ De La Garza. You're listening.
You guys are
to
listening to the
Peel.
Peel on KTXF-db, the real part of the Texas Sports Review
Justin
Network.
can't contain himself.
When we get back, we'll do real quick down the valley segment with Edson, and then jump right into the Houston Dynamo news from preseason news, plural, and some other big things that happened from the team. You know, maybe a kit dropped today. So, Edson has been more in tune to this Tigres match to even pay attention to the podcast.
I was just here as a buffer so that he could watch the match while we talked to us.
That's pretty much it, really. For the
Right.
first 45 minutes, halftime's coming, so
Yes.
it's perfect timing. So cold.
Thank you guys for tuning in to another edition of the PO on KTXF-db, the real part of the Texas Sports Review Media Network. Thank you to everyone tuning in on YouTube and Facebook. Go ahead and give this video a like, go ahead and share it, and subscribe to our channel. Before we left, we were talking a little bit of Dash News, opening up preseason, March 11th.
And we should have the full schedule tomorrow or Thursday. We do know the home opener.
Chicago Red Stars.
Sunday,
Again.
March 25th, 4 o'clock, Chicago Red Stars once
Julie Ertz.
again. Julie Ertz. And
She gets a
likely,
plug.
but get this, likely Sam Kerr probably won't be with them because she'll probably be with Australia preparing for World Cup qualifying. So fingers crossed we
Yeah,
don't
that
have to
would be
deal with the
really
Golden
helpful.
Boot winner. Yeah.
That'd be really helpful.
So, Edson, what's going down
Down in the valley.
Going down in the valley?
Well, pretty much they had a preseason friendly against HBU on Saturday, and the game ended 0-0. Basically,
Was it a good, like,
Tell me how you
intensely
really feel.
sexual 0-0 or just like whatever?
That's the thing, though. Nobody knows.
Was it
Because-
man-on-man action?
There it is, everybody. Hashtag the Peel canceled.
One of my teammates years ago, she said, you know, there's nothing sexier than a 0-0 draw. And I just like, that's such an English kind of way to say it. But
So-
that's what I thought of. I'm sorry.
no,
She had to
ruined
clarify
this whole
herself
show.
for that one. Oh, you're
I
good.
ruined the whole show.
There's no
But
ruining this show.
basically,
can't ruin what's
basically the
already
problem
been
is
ruined.
that it's one of those things. Kind of they're following the Wilmer Cabrera model of it being behind closed doors, and so the first preseason game that they had against second preseason the one they had against UTRGV, there was absolutely no news out of that. I had to go kind of probe.
So what you're saying is they're in the closet.
You can say that.
Okay.
Well,
I mean,
Frank,
you guys
Sis-
are just setting these up for me so
Edson,
easily.
Cisco wants to know who else goes down in RGV.
I'll get to that eventually.
I don't think that's what he meant.
You're
But okay.
just go to 17th Street, but I did not say anything.
Whoa.
But
It's like, man, I got to put
When
our,
does their season
our rating
start?
on this show.
they start on the 16th of March. They play against St. Louis FC, and so it was under closed doors, and there was 0-0. There was actually some video from RGVFC, an interview they had with Coach Echeverri, and one of the things he said was that defensively they were doing real good. He says they're following his focus on being stable defensive wise. But he says, but now they need to work on the offense because they felt that they were a little bit that possession of the ball, trying to get the ball, that transition from defense to offense just wasn't happening. It didn't happen that game.
It was too slow.
Yeah, and they were losing some balls. So yeah, our main focus for this season is try to, especially at home, try to keep as many of our opponents at 0 as possible. But we've also got to make sure that we gotta put the balls in the net as well.
So
I'm about to rip your coach, okay?
And not let the other team score.
So that is something.
Okay?
That is something a coach says to a team that is 3 years old, 3-year-old players. Okay, don't give up goals and score goals. Are these players really going to buy into a system this year?
You
Did
hit
you
the ball,
see
throw the
RGV
ball,
last
you
year though? The
catch
thing
ball.
is he
Sometimes
needs to.
you win.
I know this sounds crazy.
Sometimes you
but
lose.
I think that's kind of what he.
Sometimes it rains.
Thanks,
Isn't
Jeff.
that the basics of soccer?
Well, that's what I was going to say,
It
right?
is, but
as bad as RGV was last year, and as little time as he gets with these players
last
ahead
year's
of time.
RGV defense was Swiss cheese.
Well, hold on. So the thing is, right, he almost has to get back to the basics and the fundamentals because the team showed none of that last year.
Exactly.
So as simple as it is, as basic as these things are, that these soccer players should already have these things instilled in them, if he's not seeing it in the players, maybe he's trying to reinforce it in them.
How embarrassing does that have to be as a player to hear that from your coach when you're like, duh, but then you're really not doing it?
But I would also give a little bit of prop to that like sometimes bringing it back to basics is if you've been having a really rough time or rough season, go, okay.
Stop making it more complicated.
I get what you guys are saying.
Football,
It's a
right?
simple game,
so,
yeah.
so you know football really well, right? So a lot of football teams in particular, like the best coaches, the first thing they do when they get to a new team, they try to go back to the basics before they start to implement all their fancy schemes and fancy coverages and what have you from a defensive standpoint, because your players, when they come in, don't necessarily know those things right off the bat. These players are fresh for Gershon. They don't know what his style is. They don't know what his strategies or tactics are. So he's got to start somewhere. You have to have that foundation to build from. And unfortunately, with how bad RGV was last year, defensively at least, he has to start somewhere to build on. And if that's what he wants to do, if that's going to become kind of the Dynamo way, then you've got to start somewhere. So start with the basics, start with the foundation, start with the fundamentals, build on that. Now, if he's saying that at the end of the season, we got a major problem. It's preseason. I'm okay with him saying, hey, we need to get back to basics, which is basically the paraphrase of what he said. But like I said, if he's saying that in 3 months' time, 4 months' time, towards the end of the season, he's out, Gerson. I'm done.
See ya.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else, Stetson?
Sorry, not to overtake your entire segment there.
I'll talk about it tomorrow.
Yes.
Blues fans. So Blues fans, did you read that right there?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so Blues fans, and it's a good point that Cabrera had to do the same thing with the Dynamo last year. Kind of get back to the basics first. So they went to the whatever formation they were running, like 4-3-3, and stick with the 4-3-3 long enough in the preseason and in the early stages of the season for the guys to get used to it. And then he even said, as they got more used to it, we opened up the plans a little bit and allowed them to flex more based on whatever the opponents were showing us that they were going to do. We responded to their tactics. And so I think good coaches, they do that. I'm just reinforcing that it's not a bad thing, even though Justin wants to make it a bad thing.
You can catch Edson every week down in the Valley. It airs on the Peel's YouTube channel, and you can follow him on the Peel.
Down in the RGV.com.
Yes, there you go. No, I was getting to your Twitter. Down in the RGV and their amazing website, down in the RGV.com, provided and hosted by Embrace Fusion Web Services for Business. When we get back, we will dive into Dynamo.
Yes.
Or more Woso.
Or more Woso.
I'm with Jim.
We do have Dynamo or the Mobile Mini Sun Cup from this past week. We have a match tomorrow.
Cisco's comment. The Peel had to go back to the basics at one point. He's not wrong.
We did.
We beat the New York Red Bulls leftovers 5-0.
We did.
NYRB 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. we'll knock around them a little bit like the Dynamo did when we get back from break.
Right.
Do you love soccer in the city of Houston? The guys from the Peel break down the professional soccer teams in the greater Houston area, men's and women's, on KTXF-db The Real and YouTube every Tuesday beginning at 7 p.m. Central.
My main problem is the amount of sponsors that they have. They have like 3 on top, their crest, and then like a huge one over here, and then another one right over here. But I mean, they got to get their money somehow.
The first time I saw Liga MX games in Mexico, I was so impressed with how they took advantage of every inch of real estate on the TV. So anytime they pulled away because like it was the ball had gone out or there was a short break, like something graphic popped up on the field. Like it was like, wow, they've got this down to a science of every millisecond that they can get.
Around the stadium, they have, for example, the stadium's own, sponsors. And so whenever Telcel comes up, you'll see like in the graphics, like on top of the ad boards, like a ball just like bouncing around, like that. I was like, man,
it's so smart. I heard last year the new guy that came on to.
We got 20 seconds.
Who came on to run the Dynamo Stadium was like, why aren't we putting the boards out for Dash games? Mm-hmm. People were like, well, we don't have the sponsors for them yet. He's like, well, we just put them out. Take advantage of every opportunity you have to,
Yeah. However, what I do hate is like they'll lie, and it's happened before at the Tigres versus Chivas final. I'll talk to you later about it.
Almost lost it. Thank you guys for tuning into another edition of The Peel on KTXF-db The Real, part of the Texas Sports Review Media Network. Thanks to those of you tuning in on YouTube and Facebook. Do us all a favor and give this video a like. Go ahead and share it and subscribe to our channel and get notified when we or Edson's Down in the Valley go live. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at ThePeel05. Like us on Facebook at ThePeel2005, and be sure to check out our website, thepeellive.com, provided and hosted by Embrace Fusion Web Services for Business. Lastly, be sure to visit our friends over at Dynamo Theory. Check out their website, dynamotheory.com, and follow them on Twitter at Dynamo Theory for all your Houston Dynamo and Dash news. Before we went on break, we teased a little bit.
And then they got to listen to our entire break, apparently.
Yes, which is fine. I think I'm just going to end up leaving the mics on because, I mean, for the YouTube show, it's fine. It's just I have to cut it out for the radio station. So they play commercials and all that good stuff, which I got to queue up more. But yes, the Dynamo, 2 preseason games, 2 fun preseason games actually to watch. Mm-hmm. I watched most of them. I think I missed the good minutes of the New York Red Bulls one, which was kind of a shame because I wanted to see Mac Steeves. But I did go back and watch the highlights. I had a long day at school and I came home just passed out. I was dead.
That Bird and Mac Steeves connection, though.
Yeah. Mac Steeves. It's funny because going into this, I was like, there's no way he makes the team. He's the odd man out. He's too big for soccer. Like, he looks like he should be playing American football. Man, was I wrong. The kid can play. And the service he's been getting, too, has helped. I have his stats somewhere, one of these. I got like 4 pages. First match we did play against Portland and then a 1-1 draw. That was that Friday? Friday, I believe.
Wednesday or Thursday?
Wednesday or
there was
Thursday?
A game Saturday and then there's a game tomorrow. Tomorrow we play
February
Phoenix
13th.
Rising.
February 14th. It was last Wednesday, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it was at Real Madrid's game.
Newcomer to the Dynamo, Houston native, Arturo Alvarez, with supply from Tomas Martinez, scored early in the match. He scored... I need to go back to 2-page printing. They cut it off. When did he score? 12th minute. He scored in the 12th minute. Timbers tied up the match before halftime when Sebastian Blanco sent a low cross into the box in the 34th minute. I guess really the only standout from that match was Michael Nelson. Looked good. still young. He got burnt on one, but he held Diego Valeri to nothing. And it's not like Portland was playing a lot there. I mean, anytime you can go up against Diego Valeri and you're fresh out of college and you have 3 saves, 3 saves against him, pretty good deal.
And you know what? I felt that the Portland goal was more along the lines of like the defenders not knowing what to do with that cross. Mm-hmm. They just let it pass by, and it was just Sebastian Blanco's to tap it in.
Yeah. About Portland, was it me or did their defense just look rough? Their defense looked rough.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's going to get any better from this season, especially with transition from
coach.
Yeah, from Caleb Porter to who they're going to have now. I mean, how do you lose? One, Portland was dumb for letting him go. They should offer Porter any amount. Here's a blank check. I really don't know.
But it's also so hard to judge by preseason.
Yeah.
You know, it's I don't know. It's apropos of nothing almost. You know that it's like it's almost like what I was saying with She Believes, where the fans will get apoplectic if the U.S. women don't win it. It means nothing long term to me, as long as it's great preparation for what we need for World Cup qualifying in the World Cup.
Yeah.
So you know, I'm sure Wilmer's just like, what can I see from these players so I can plan for? I mean, it's crazy how close opening day is. I still forget. Like, I think in my blood, I kind of think like the season begins like late March. No,
it's
March 3rd.
Yeah.
It's like, sheesh.
And before I forget, it was Asperilla that scored in the 34th minute. Sorry, with supply from Blanco.
Okay, so Cisco says something I think has a valid point. He says Portland's best defense has always been their offense. So that's
true.
Yeah, so it comes to a point where, like, if you find a way to eliminate their offensive power, then you have a better chance of beating Portland because they're shaky in defense. And you also have to analyze how many Timbers 2 players were given the opportunity to be trialists. So
yeah,
and as we all know, Timbers 2 is a dumpster fire in the USL. So.
God, so much shade tonight. Wow. You got anything bad to say about San Antonio tonight? Normally you do. I'll let you think on it.
I really don't want to talk too much, and then come March 2nd, we get beat in that preseason game, because then I'm going to look like a fool. So,
But I think we can safely say that it looks like we should be in Saturday night's final of the Mobile Mini Sun Cup.
Oh yes. With the 5-0
drubbing.
Yeah, it was bad against Red Bulls too, essentially. We are on our way to win our second straight Mobile Mini Cup.
Woohoo!
I know you can't throw, like Jen said, you can't really put all that much into it, but hey, it's something. It's early hardware. Get your team.
And I'm so excited we can watch it much easier than we used to be able to.
Yes, every match is streamed on HoustonDynamo.com. They are currently in first with 1 win, 1 draw, 0 losses, 4 points, and a +5 goal difference. They will be taking on Phoenix Rising FC, who was 0-3, tomorrow at 6. Championship match will be the 24th. To get back to the New York Red Bulls match, it did end up being 5-0. Boniek Garcia with a beautiful strike.
That volley, though.
Oh, that volley. In the 30th minute, unassisted. Andrew Winger in the 40th minute. Mauro Manotas with his third of preseason with 55, or in the 55th minute, excuse me. Mac Steeves getting a second and third, 77th and the 83rd minute, both with assists from Eric Bird. How's that make you feel?
Makes me feel good.
Okay, I'm going to offer a Boniek Garcia bobblehead as a prize.
Nice.
To the first person that posts, on the little YouTube comments where Boniek's name came from, who his parents named him after.
Oh, that's a nice one.
Well, you're ineligible. Sorry, yeah. You're ineligible, Sean, to win. Okay.
Hey, Cisco, right about there.
Yeah.
Above the emoji.
And then separate from that, another little trivia for you, Justin. Andrew Winger, his sister was drafted into the NWSL.
I saw that.
Drafted, unfortunately, to the Boston Breakers, but thankfully picked up in the dispersal draft So she's with the Spirit right now. So they are currently the only
Brother-sister combo?
the only brother-sister combo that's MLS NWSL. There was another combo, the Kalmans, but Cassie Kalman is out of NWSL for this season. She'll probably come back. All right, Blues fan 1997. You got to give me a little bit more information than that, because that's clearly a sentence that you picked up from Wikipedia. So tell me what World Cup he played in and
What
what
team?
and what they. Well, clearly we know what team.
Well, no,
But,
but
like-
like club. Maybe
Okay, I'm not looking for club. I'm not looking for.
I like David's answer. Some Polish guy.
Yeah.
give him.
Because what was interesting is it's like, so, and I'll go ahead and say it. So 1982 World Cup, Poland finished third. Boniek Garcia was born just like a year or two after that. So it's very specific to that era. And what's funny is I remember we signed Boniek June 2012, the day that I flew to Poland to go enjoy the Euro. 2 days later, I'm walking around downtown Warsaw and I see Zibi Boniek.
That's awesome.
And I'm just like, this is so weird that like kind of like Boniek in stereo.
Oh, snap.
So
That's cool.
So Blues fan 1997, you reach out to these losers and I will somehow get them my extra Boniek Garcia bobblehead, or we can figure out how to pick it up. But yeah, it's yours, Blues fan 1997.
Nice. So, Sean, we've talked about Mac Steeves a lot.
Uh-huh.
What are your thoughts on him now? And I did throw up a Twitter poll earlier this week. Does he make the club? Does he go to RGV? Or does he not do any of those
How
things?
much can he go back and forth?
Sean, you might know that. How often can a player go back and forth between us and RGV?
There's no
limit?
There's no limit.
Okay.
No.
He just ends up loaned, and there's no specification
For how? Oh, thank you.
Okay.
He just ends up loaned, and so there's no spec for how long the loan has to be for. So it could be a few days. It can be 1 day. The Dynamo do a lot of 1 days or 3 days with the Open Cup,
Right.
loaning from RGV to MLS and or vice versa.
See, I can't wait for us to have this on the women's side. So like,
I'll take care of you, Cisco. Don't
you know,
worry.
you need some El Salvador. But Arturo Alvarez, right? Yeah.
And Darwin Saren.
Yeah.
Saren Darwin?
Yeah.
One of the two. Thank you.
All right. Which year was Arturo the '1 draft pick to MLS?
Ooh.
19.
Nope.
It was 2000s? That would have been.
I'm going to take a shot in the dark.
Wait. 13. 2005.
2002.
Oh, I was close. So he's
Good try.
So it's longer than 13 then.
Yeah.
So that would have been 16 years.
Or I could be wrong, but that's what I remember. I just remember that was the beginning of me sending out my
Cisco.
Keeper Notes email
So-
newsletter, and I remember being like, "Oh my God, it's a Houstonian who's like the #1 draft pick."
So Cisco is a stats guy, so he will pull up what year he was drafted in.
Good, good. Cisco,
Arturo
we're
Alvarez.
waiting for you.
What year did Arturo get drafted into MLS?
So, back to the question.
Yes.
Mac Steeves.
Wow, we diverted way away. From that.
So,
I'm sorry, it's my fault.
I
What are
forgot
your-
we even had a question.
what are your expectations? What
So
do you like from him so far?
Well, what do I like from him? We finally have a target forward that has a nose for goal. That's not to say that Will Bruin in years past didn't have a nose for goal, but 2003. So she was off by a year. I was off by 2 years. Oh, actually, that's pretty good then. Okay, good. Sorry, just propping myself on the back. Tapping myself. Anyways, patting myself on the back. There we go. I think, okay, so first of all, there's a few questions in there, right? So the first is he makes the senior team, in my opinion. He makes it as a bench player. He may not even initially make the 18 week after week, but he's the type of player, in my opinion, that can be a 10 to 15-minute player that you bring on at the end of matches when you need a goal and you know you're going to get a few set pieces. You know, I don't think right now, actually, I feel like right now he's not quite ready for a starting role. To be fair, he probably doesn't deserve one over Morrow at this point. But it's nice to have a backup that can actually play a true target, forward. And it's such a difference between him and Morrow in terms of play style that if Morrow's been, running at you for, Morrow, Elis, and Kyoto, or Elis and whoever else have been running at you for 70 minutes, 75 minutes, and now you're bringing in Mac Steeves to just kind of beat up on you. It's a different style, and it takes a different defensive style to kind of counter that. Now, I need to see him against actual MLS competition, MLS defenders. MLS starting defenders are a lot more physical than their USL counterparts. And so I need to see him against some of those levels of players. But at the end of the day, I still think he makes the 18 or 23 senior 23 roster. I feel like he's shown enough in preseason that he deserves an opportunity. And even if they sign him to a RGV contract, there is no reason they couldn't sign him to an RGV contract, a USL contract, an MLS contract, send him to RGV whenever the opportunity arises that he needs to get minutes or whatever. Let him get some time down there. Cisco asked, does he remind me of Sherrod? Mark Sherrod. He kind of does, except I think Sherrod was not quite as physical as Mac Steeves. Mac Steeves is a huge dude.
Was he 6'2"?
6'4", 6'3"?
Wow.
Yeah, I'm telling you, he's built like a football player.
230. The dude is like,
he's stacked.
He's a rugby player. He is a legit rugby player. Shout out to Sabercats. And Grant Cole, if you're listening.
If you make it out to I know you go out there for dash practices. If you make it out there for a Dynamo practice,
he's the big guy out there.
I'm telling you,
that's not an exaggeration though.
He will be the first one you notice over everybody else out there.
Yeah, he's
huge.
So he's in the Eddie Robinson model of just hey, if only the biggest American athletes played soccer, we would totally dominate the sport, kind of thing.
Yeah,
actually.
You like my Eddie Robinson voice?
We've made the joke, and it's kind of
I don't agree with that.
That Mac Steeves looks like he just walked off a rugby pitch and is planning to go play a rugby union match after his Dynamo practices.
Yeah.
Like he just has that. It's amazing.
Kind of the way that Abby Wambach always looked in
compared
comparison
to everybody else.
Yeah.
How tall is Abby?
She's
I know
2
she's
inches
short.
shorter than I am. But
So she's tall.
everyone else she's playing with
Yeah.
is
Is
like
5'5".
5'5". Yeah.
Compared to Mallory, who's like this tall.
Yeah.
Were you pointing at Edson, or were you trying to show how tall he is?
Show. So it's also funny because
He's not listening.
he's not. First time I ever
Steve's
like
is
bumped into
6'4".
Khalid.
Who?
Cleo High. I always say her name
Khalid.
for her first name wrong.
You can call her Kay.
Okay,
Yeah, that works.
She was walking by me and I was like, damn, she's barely up to my shoulders. Barely.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's way off
But
topic.
that's what I love about soccer is it's never been dependent on one physical type.
Nope.
Yep.
So you can have the 6'4" Max Steeves. You can have the 5'5" Leo Messi. I don't even
Cisco
know.
says the work
You
color
could have the
JJ Boo.
6'11".
Yeah.
You could have the 6'11" Pater Crouch. I mean,
like the games I worked at
Linky.
Reliance Stadium when Landon Donovan would walk by, I'm like, there's no way you're 5'8", dude.
No.
like
he's 5'8".
Well, who
logs.
was it? Who was
Yeah.
it? There was
Platform shoes, maybe.
Oh, they were talking about this, and I don't remember if it was for the Dynamo Portland match in preseason or the one that aired before that. They were talking about Boateng.
Oh yeah, Jerome.
Yes, and then there was one other player, and they said no, they actually had to take him down a few inches, and he's officially the shortest player.
Jao Plata.
There you
Yeah,
go. Yeah,
Plata and Boateng are both very short.
And that thing too that like in men's sports that most of them still list weight along with height, and that they're like adding on to that as well, as opposed to like
That's their
women.
that's
the
their
height will never
off-season
be
weight.
exaggerated,
Yeah.
and they're never going to run the weight.
Yeah.
It's just like whatever. You know?
One thing that wasn't in the show notes, and this is why we're gonna miss this break, but I did want to bring it up, because it came out this week. You think we should cover it?
I don't know what you're talking
Keeper.
about.
Tyler,
Another keeper signed.
Oh well. Okay, so
there's not a lot to say.
Well,
when
let's say
you don't
this.
have a lot of public information, there's
No,
not
there
a lot
isn't.
to say.
What we know at this point is that the Dynamo actually re-signed him in back in December, and that they chose to hold the information and they didn't want to release it, and then it became leaked, and so
Yes.
they had to release it this week. Basically, they had to kind of PR it out a little bit. From what I can tell you, it's simply to retain his rights. It's at half his salary of last season, but that's for. If he even plays this season, it will be less than half a season. So if he's making half his salary of last season for half a season, he's still making his same salary.
Yeah.
So it's really just to retain his rights. He's not being paid while
Because
he's
they can
suspended.
still cut him or trade him at any time,
Yeah,
right?
and
I
I,
think that's-
suspect it's more for the trading opportunity. It becomes an asset if he is found not guilty or if the charges are dropped.
Because probably
or
if they
whatever.
did nothing, they'd lose his rights.
Correct. They would lose his rights because
Because this
he would
was
be out
his
of
contract year
Yeah.
anyway, right?
Well, he would be out of contract.
Well, last year was
I
his
think he
contract
would have
year.
actually been out of contract at the end of December.
Yes.
That's when his contract would have ran out. So they would no longer own his rights. So even if all he ended up doing was going overseas to Europe or something like that, playing for a lower division team, they couldn't get anything. They would get zero for him.
Right.
So at the very least, I applaud, and I'm assuming this is where it came from based on what I know, that it was a Matt Jordan move just to make sure they had his rights.
It was a smart business move. Just purely business.
Well, and let's also consider, and this kind of comes back around to Hope Solo, because I saw a lot of people tweet leading up to the election, like, why would this domestic abuser be allowed to be a soccer president? Let's make it clear. She has never been convicted.
That's right.
Yep.
Of any
correct
abuse harassment. Now, she's been involved with, and I'm not even talking about the stuff with her nephew and her
other things,
but like, she was with Jeremy Stevens when he drove the team van and got a DUI. So she was punished by U.S. Soccer, but she wasn't driving. She wasn't,
correct.
They had an incident right before they got married, but he was the one arrested.
Yep.
She's had issues. She does not have a conviction.
No.
Now, if she did, she may not have passed the background check, but she did pass the background check.
Absolutely.
So again, like, I've seen people tweet about Tyler. It's like, this isn't the first time it's happened to him. It's like, again, the previous incident, it was thrown out, and the girlfriend even said, so it's like, I don't want to defend either side because it's not adjudicated yet. It's not.
I guess
complete,
my issue was with this whole thing. Tigris is up to no. My whole thing with all of this is that it couldn't have came at a worse time last year.
I know.
And that's what my issue is from a team perspective, they've had to have felt let down. Especially when you were at that time probably top 3 best keeper in the league in that stretch of matches. Okay?
And that's got to be weighing on him. Like, great, I just screwed up this incredible opportunity. I could have taken my team to the MLS Cup. And I'm sure that the Dynamo probably felt relieved that the league made the decision of this player cannot play, so that the team didn't have to deal with the
publicity
of
it.
Or they could just say, hey, this is what the league decided. I'm glad to see the league being, on the forefront.
They have with stuff like this.
Proactive.
Yeah.
It's like, that's great, but I want to remind everyone, it's like, don't be throwing shade at Tyler or the Dynamo, like,
Absolutely.
oh, he's a domestic abuser. It's like, no convictions, nothing's done. A lot of legal stuff we know takes a long time to go on. I'm not saying that I wouldn't be deathly afraid of meeting a drunk Hope Solo in a dark alley, but she has never been convicted.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that being said, would you want to see him play again here, or do you think...
So here's the thing. We can't ask these questions until we know the end result of the charges, until we know the end result of either the trial or whatever.
I guess outside of the stuff with his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend, he also has not always had the most level playing head either. I mean, he's been red carded before for some dumb stuff.
But that's a coaching decision, and he's what was this the first full year of Cabrera?
Cabrera had not been involved prior to two seasons
we
ago,
haven't gotten to see
season.
like the full Tyler Derrick under Wilmer Cabrera.
And I actually said this a year ago, or maybe a little less than a year ago. One of the things that Tyler, because it wasn't just Tyler, Willis struggled with this too. Mm-hmm. When your defenders leave you on an island as a keeper and you're 1v1 in or right at the edge of your box, which that's an Owen Coyle tactical type thing that he's being, that Tyler's being coached on and Willis were being coached on. It makes you make a decision in a very short period of time that you're just relying on, instincts and that sort of thing. Is this guy going to beat me? If he does, what do I do? At that time, there was a very different approach to to denial of goal scoring opportunity. Now, they don't red card nearly as much for that sort of thing because they don't want the whole quote-unquote double jeopardy thing where you're already getting the penalty and now you're also going to red card.
The keeper.
So the double jeopardy thing is kind of a big deal because now Derek would be vindicated to make that move because now, the guy may pass him up and he may get the yellow card for it, but he's not necessarily going to get the red card. So if he stops that opportunity and then turns around and stops the PK as a result, that happens as a result of his foul, then he's vindicated in making that move. Now, back then it was different, but like I said, when your defense is leaving you on an island as a keeper, and I'm sure you can attest to this, you have to make a very quick decision very fast, and if you have attackers that are definitely faster than you are and have a very good possibility to make the goal, even with you reasonably close, you have to make at least some play on the ball. You're not going to just back up and let them shoot. You have to do whatever you can.
You have to make them uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And your top keepers are, they're fierce competitors, just like the people running around the field.
Absolutely.
But they're not running around the field, so I feel like it's, bringing up all of that energy that they have that's not getting run out, if that makes it, so it's like, sometimes one of the things I love watching keepers is that explosion when their defense lets them down.
Yeah.
You know? So you're just like, wow. Like the way that Pat Onstad used to rip players a new one. Or,
man. But they respected him for it,
Yeah. Well, it's like, and that he owns the box. Like, he was so good with the box. He would come out at Robertson for warm-up, and he would just be able to spot the other end. He's like, that goal is crooked. From 100 yards away. He's like, sorry, that's off. I can tell. It's like he was so in control of everything. But I love that about the. I think that intensity. From Derek and also Willis. I think you need that in your keeper.
Yeah. So Darby says the black and white view of conviction, no conviction, isn't reliable in this very subjective sport. Referee judgment comes into play for fouls, yellows, and reds because there are simply sometimes only that to really judge by. And she's absolutely right. A lot is left up to the referee's judgment call. Some referees will, discuss with their assistant referees to see if, what they saw was what they saw, and if the assistant referee maybe had a better angle.
We're getting into the possibilities of VAR.
Oh yeah, well, and I've seen some referees just completely ignore their assistant referee who had a better viewpoint. For one reason or another, and it's like your assistant referee is telling you that's not a freaking foul.
Well, because in the end, they're probably like, you know what? I'm the one that takes the ultimate decision, and I want to be the one that took that decision.
Well, and I also want to separate that conviction, no conviction is about the legal issues. It's
correct.
Completely not related to their play on the field, but any of their legal issues, especially something that is still currently be adjudicated.
Absolutely.
I don't think it's fair to accuse someone on Twitter of being a domestic abuser when they.
We will definitely discuss it more.
Well, and let me say one other thing about Tyler Derrick, because I didn't appreciate some of the Chronicles coverage of him when they referenced, he was also involved in an incident in 2012. Well, if they'd gone back to 2012, they would see he was defending a teammate.
Yep.
Over racist comments and racist responses.
And he was arrested, and everybody taped the incident, and it was thrown out. So I feel like it's too easy to go, because clearly they had, you can search on the Harris County site and see here's his background.
They wrote a piece on it in the Chronicle.
Yeah. So they didn't search their own archive. But they searched the Harris County courts and saw, he had an incident in 2012. It's like, well, that doesn't mean it's like, it's clearly not related to this. Yes. So you should either explain how it is or explain how it's not.
Credit to Corey, because Corey wrote some of that piece, or most of that piece.
But he wasn't here in 2012.
No, however, he did, and the credit to Corey goes in that at least for the previous allegations, the previous charges with the same girlfriend, that at least Corey came out and explained what had happened with that, because it paints things in a very different light.
Yes.
I'm not saying he's guilty, not guilty either way. I don't know his innocence, and frankly, I don't think our system really honestly can truthfully say one way or the other whether they know that. They can make educated guesses whether he is or not.
And there's such a broad spectrum of, well, did the person change their mind and withdraw it because there was an argument, or was there not enough evidence, which kind of leaves other question marks?
And also on the flip side of that,
there's so many.
Exactly, and the charges. Why were the charges dropped? There are those. His lawyer previously, after the charges were dropped the first time, said it was XYZ because he had a cell phone text message that showed that she had come out and admitted that she lied about the charges.
Right.
And so, but everything paints everything in a different light, and I only say this to say I try not to make judgment calls one way or the other until I have all the facts. And in this case, we don't have any facts.
But I still do appreciate that the league just straight out said, "Hey, until this is
resolved
resolved,
one way or the other."
Because again, if you
Absolutely.
go back to solo, I don't like in 2014 that U.S. Soccer did nothing,
Yep.
NWSL did nothing,
Yep.
and then wouldn't let people ask.
And
for that.
I am curious whether that was a Don Garber call or who that came from. I suspect it was probably a Don Garber call, and I appreciate him for that.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah, I think
That's
it's
the right
smart.
decision. Can I read my thing now?
Yeah, good.
All right, coming to cheer on the Houston SaberCats as they take on the New Orleans Gold at Constellation Field on Saturday. Don't miss any of the Mardi Gras and Education Night festivities and come join in the tailgating fun. Come out early and enjoy the tailgating starting at 3 p.m. in the stadium parking lot and a live DJ beginning at 4. Meet your favorite SaberCats and get their autographs from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Stadium doors and fan zone opens at 5:30 p.m. and the match kicks off at 7. We will give away try-signs at the match. Make sure to purchase your tickets online or call the box office at 281-730-5308.
Hey, what's up, guys? Kalen Carr here.
And remember,
And when
go
I'm listening
Cats,
to Houston Dynamo News, I'm listening
that's,
to the
that's
Peel
what Skeeters play.
Forever Orange.
Sugar Land Skeeters.
Good to know.
Hey, Sean. So you remember the shirt I made
Yes.
for Toros?
Yeah.
Turns out it's actually
Oh, go.
San Antonio FC's new home shirt,
Is
but
it
in
really?
red,
Oh, that's cool.
but black with the red.
So what you're
stripes.
saying is San Antonio saw your picture and they copied it and made it red.
I doubt it.
Essentially.
Maybe.
You're like, okay, yeah, it's kind of cool. Well, free Warren. Hashtag free Warren.
Well, and like we were talking about, U.S. Soccer and Hope Solo and firing her for the Sweden comments. It's like, for me, it seemed
30
like
seconds.
it seemed more like a much delayed reaction to.
Is
all
there
the
some
stuff
reason
that
we're on? Can they
yeah.
hear us?
Yeah,
YouTube, they can.
Oh, okay.
KTXF, they can.
Was there some reason we did it that way?
I just felt
just
like
for fun.
Oh, okay. What's up, guys, on YouTube? Just saying hi.
But that I feel like it was a delayed reaction to the stuff that had happened before.
Agreed.
They're like,
Agreed.
oh, let's deal with it now.
Yeah. Okay. I can close out of those two reads. Thank you,
Yep.
Justin.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in to another edition of The Peel on KTXF-db, The Real. Part of the Texas Sports Review Media Network. Thanks to everyone tuning in on YouTube and Facebook as well. Go ahead and give this video a like and a share and subscribe to our channel. Before we left, we were talking Tyler Derrick.
But we're ready for some more positive
Positive
talking.
stuff?
Yeah.
That's funny. I can't do it well. I don't have enough time.
I
but
can
no.
I can talk more
No, he's saying the
NWSL.
volume's
I can
so loud.
talk Dash. I can talk national teams. I can talk World Cup. I can talk Russia. Hey,
There we go.
the entire broadcast schedule for Russia 2018 came out today. 38 of the 64 games are going to be on Fox, not Fox Sports 1, Fox Sports 2, or Fox
actually
Soccer
on
Plus.
Fox?
On Fox.
Well, what time are they live on Fox
Yeah.
or are they going to?
Yeah. So they're like 9 a.m., 11 a.m., 1 p.m.
And if you have Fox Match Pass,
Easy for
you
you to
have
say.
every single match, all of it.
Yeah, so you don't even need Fox Sports 1. So,
Nope.
so
'Cause I don't get
26,
Fox
26
Sports
of
2.
them are on Fox Sports 1. Well, none of them are on
Yeah,
Fox Sports
thank
2. Yeah, they ain't going to tape delay,
That's
the
fair.
World
That's
Cup.
fair.
I love the Andres Cantor ad that Telemundo has been running. So simple, so short. It's just him kind of walking up the screen, doing his goal call, goal, and then dropping the mic, walking away, and they show the logo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Leah, I did see
not a fan of
her.
Cantor.
I did see her at practice today. I don't think she's been cleared for contact, so she was out there.
Was
but
she doing any cutting?
I only saw the last 20 minutes.
Okay.
So they were mostly scrimmaging, so she was not participating in that.
She was just kind of running on the sideline.
Yeah. Yeah,
Ish.
but she's out there. She's in great shape. I mean, hey, she's got the best, workout buddy. And I want to ask you guys your opinion of that.
What part of that?
What part of it? Well, I think it's interesting that, when you make a connection to a big name player like that, you sometimes get backlash in the WOSO community of, oh, don't mention him. Where me, someone who has been following women's soccer for 20 plus years and is still just waiting for it to keep growing and growing and growing, I'm like, hey, anything that brings people to games, go for it. Like, I did find it annoying that you had some people go, why didn't Julie Ertz skip her national team game to go to the
Hell
playoff game, and
For
it's
her
like,
husband, yeah.
because it was only the playoff game,
Yep.
and because if she didn't play, she wouldn't get paid, but
Cisco, get out.
You know what, though? It
But-
made a better
but-
storyline.
yeah, well, but I love that
It really
she
did.
was there and she's in the stands, and I love that JJ Watt comes to the
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
I thought it kind of strange post Harvey that the league did a push for sending money to the Red Cross, where I'm like, why aren't you doing something with JJ Watt's thing? Where it's
Yeah.
like
Leverage
he's
it.
local, leverage it in a very natural way, not
Yeah.
it's Kaylee's boyfriend way, but here's someone who's of the Houston community who's doing this
Who loves
amazing
soccer.
thing.
I mean, he does love soccer.
Yeah, and people forget too, Brian Cushing is married to Kaylee Ohai's sister, Megan.
Correct.
Megan Ohai, who also won a national championship
Yep.
back at USC in 2007.
And did
when
technically
she
play
was,
for the Dash.
Yeah, as a training player. She was teammates with Amy Rodriguez in USC. So it's like, I mean, what an amazing
I gotta
soccer family.
I gotta say though, the Julie Ertz, Zach Ertz, the whole thing, the whole, almost 2 months between the playoffs was just one of the funnest things to watch. Between her reactions and his reactions, to see
Well, and
his
then
reaction after the game of her reaction after the playoff win.
yeah, and his and his like in the Super Bowl towards the end that like fumble catch
Yes,
thing,
yes.
and I tweeted like Zach Ertz for U.S. national team goalie. It was like those are great hands.
Edson's hurt right now.
So
Just I tell you,
that's okay. He can continue.
he's a
to be hurt.
Patriots fan.
So one of my favorite things actually from that week before was her being on Media Row
Yep.
and actually going and doing
that
interviews
was
with
funny.
the Philly players.
Yeah,
Oh, she's so
to
great.
see the interview
Yeah.
between
So-
both of them.
But to see her just embrace that opportunity, and the thing is it brings people. Who is this person?
Right.
You know,
Yep.
Right.
It's
so I
it's
was at the
positive
Phoenix watching the
publicity.
Super Bowl, and so there's random people behind us, like our little soccer group was together watching. But every now and then I was like, hey, that blonde chick they keep showing, there'd be like some drunk guy going, yeah. I was like, she plays for the U.S. national team. She's a World Cup champion. They're like, really? I was like, yeah. It's
How
kind
awesome
of,
is that though?
yeah.
When they have a kid, both your parents are champions.
Yeah.
Like how awesome is that?
Oh
Well,
my God.
JJ's not.
But
Look
is
at,
it-
look at me, him, and Nomar Garcia Parra.
Or are you talking about Ertz?
Ertz.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Like
Yeah.
They were
power,
like
power couple.
Me and him.
they were
No
the
more?
original
Yeah.
power couple.
Yeah.
Because at that time, they were both in their prime.
Well,
Nomar
and I
was
even did. Here's some obscure WOSO knowledge for you. So I did some trivia during Super Bowl halftime, and the first question I had, but I warned everybody. I said the answer to none of these questions will be Julie Ertz. just to be clear, So I said name the former U.S. national team defender who was married to a former Philadelphia Eagle. And like 10 people emailed, said Julie Ertz. And I'm like, no. I said
specifically
former
said-
national team defender
Yeah.
and former Philadelphia Eagle.
Well,
And
now,
he was a quarterback. He was not a tight end. He
to
was a quarterback.
To be fair, she technically is a former national team defender.
Right,
However,
but he's
he is
not
not
a
a former
former Eagle,
Eagles
yeah.
yet. He will maybe eventually.
I don't know that.
Heather Mitz is married to AJ
Oh,
Feely.
that's right. AJ Feely's not even in the league anymore, is he?
No,
I think
No,
he's correct,
no,
yeah.
he's been
for
gone.
a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are banned to your room now.
No, you know what? His name wouldn't have popped in my mind.
Okay, and then here's another good one for you, especially since we got the Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
Progress. Yeah. Name the only U.S. women's national teamer who has a Winter Olympics medal.
Oh, you've got me on that
Yeah,
one.
you're not going to know her
There's-
name because
no.
she only has like one cap from like 1998, but she did do the
That's way
bobsled.
before my-
I was
yeah,
gonna say
she,
it was a bobsledder. I
she-
can't
she-
remember who
yeah,
it was.
she- yeah, Shauna Roebuck. So it's like, but how cool is that there's like
There's a lot of
crossover
connections
like that?
if you're willing to dig for them. There are a lot of connections in a lot of different ways, and I think those types of things are great because it's that positive publicity. It's that bridging that gap between other sports, between other fans and soccer fans and other sports and soccer, where you realize that in terms of the U.S. at least, there is that opportunity to grow the sport in an organic way. Whereas I think a lot of times U.S. soccer feels like the only way we can grow the sport because
Is
the way
little
that-
girls.
is the young kids, and it's like no, there's an opportunity to grow within the fan base of other sports.
I know. Two things. One, shout out to Francisco, Drew Holiday. Yes, another power
Oh, yeah,
couple.
Lauren
Drew
Holiday.
Holiday and Lauren Holiday.
AKA Cheney.
But also Cholliday, as we call her. No one else calls her that. That's just me making that up. One of the things that a good friend of mine said to me several years ago, and I keep saying this on my podcast because I think it's brilliant. Think about how we market men's sports. Okay, they don't market it to little boys. They market it to adults. Mm-hmm. Adults go to sporting events. They bring their kids. Little kids, especially little boys, grow up going, oh, going to sporting games, going to baseball games is what adults do. Because Daddy took me to a baseball game. Going to football games is what adults do. The way we marketed women's sports, you market it to little girls. So you have these screaming hordes at women's soccer games. They grow up, and what is their mindset? That's what a 12-year-old does. Yep. I'm no longer 12. You think of how we market, like 17 magazine wasn't marketed to 17-year-olds. It was marketed to 12, 13, 14, wanting to be 17. So it's like, we need to market this to adults. There's so many people that reach out to me, that listen to my podcast, that are adults and adult men that are like, this is so fascinating. I love this sport. And it's not because of the like, ooh, I have a daughter. Like anybody that invokes the I have a daughter excuse is so I can't be sexist, or I have this, so I, anyway, I'm ranting, but you see my point that it's like, it's just sports. And I get frustrated when anytime you got a U.S. women's game like on Fox and they advertise a men's game on Fox, you will see a little outcry on Twitter. It's like, not during a women's game. Like, you guys don't understand that if you watch the men's game after this, they will be advertising the women's game too. Yeah. Like, Anyway, those are many rants. I mean, you can just push all my different buttons to get whatever rant you need for the day.
So I've thrown it up on the screen.
Wait, real quick. Oh. Where can they hear your mini rants?
Where can they hear my mini rants?
There's a lot of places.
The main place is the Mix Zone Women's Soccer Podcast. With 2 X's, of course. Hosted by Howler Magazine. So it's on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Megaphone.
I don't even know what that is.
That's really our hosting site.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's not really something you subscribe to, but that's where my original link is. So I put that out every Tuesday. I may get to call some Dash games again this season. A lot depends on other stuff. Like my plan right now is I will be working for Fox in Russia, hopefully in Russia and not in LA supporting Russia. I am still tentatively assigned to travel to Russia, fingers crossed. So that's going to be weird for me.
How much do I have to pay you to let me go to Russia?
Okay, like when I got this gig last summer, my sister goes, but that's boys soccer.
And you've done a good job.
Wow.
I said, I'm only doing this to get to France 2019. like, let's be clear.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's funny because one of the questions my boss asked me when he was interviewing me last summer, he's like, well, I know you know your shit when it comes to women's soccer, but what do you know about men's soccer? And I was like, well, men's soccer is how I got involved. Like Thomas Ravelli in the 1994 World Cup is the reason I started playing keeper, is the reason I fell in love with his game. And once I started knowledge bombing him, he's like, okay. And it's like, now, clearly I'm not encyclopedic on the men's side the way I can claim to be on the women's side.
You don't have any Moso soccer trivia for us?
Broso.
Just kidding. Broso. Moso works. Moso works. Why can't it be men's? I guess that doesn't work, does it?
It just sounds better.
Oh, soccer. Moso.
I think Broso is a little bit more hip. Okay, here's one for you. Name the first American to score in Liga MX.
Edson.
Oh, she turned right to him. Oh, snap.
It's really for Justin and Sean, who forget to reintroduce themselves at the beginning of the segment.
Yeah. Give me a time frame. That's all I need.
1995.
I was 4 years old.
So
you're supposed to be
aren't you like born with this soccer knowledge in your brain? Liga MX?
I wasn't even watching soccer.
Was it like implanted when you were born, right?
No, MOSO stands for more soccer, just so we're clear.
Okay, well, I like that. Necaxa. He scored for Necaxa in 1995.
Beasley?
No.
Only because
he threw it up on the board.
Beasley would have been 13.
Was it Win?
Seems
Was it
legit.
Ronaldo?
No. He was this close to being on the 1994 World Cup team, but got cut 3 weeks before. And he had a ridiculously embarrassing hairdo that the Texian army made a tifo of.
Oh, God. Megan, answer.
If she's watching, she might be watching her show.
Oh, probably.
Dominic Kinnear.
Was it
First American to score
Really?
in Liga MX for Necaxa in
I am
1995.
ashamed for not knowing that.
There's
That's
your knowledge
crazy.
bomb. I have to share a knowledge bomb moment. I totally geeked out in Philly, and I was in Starbucks, and there were two guys sitting next to me, and one said to the other guy, "Oh yeah, well you played in a World Cup final, you would know what that's like." And of course, my ears picked up like, okay, who would be in Philly that has played in a World Cup final? And I turn and look, and I see it's Jeff Agus. And of course, what that person was referring to was the futsal World Cup final in 1992. So I saw the opportunity to totally dork out. So I did. And I said, "Oh, you're Jeff Agus. You played with Jim Gabarra in the 1992 Futsal World Cup." He's like, "Yeah." I said, "Did you know that Jim and his wife are the only couple in the world to have both played in a World Cup final?" And he looks at me like, "I didn't know that."
Who the heck are you?
Going back to my coffee now. But that's one of the cool things about being at the United Soccer Coaches Convention every year. It's like there's such an amazing, just what's the word, conflagration or something. There's some kind of good.
That's
word,
a good word for it.
like that. Of all these people, like you're walking by, like, oh, there's Stu Holden, oh, there's Rob Solo, oh, there's Carlos Gray. You're just like, but all these.
I
all
listened
these,
to a lot of that on
for
XM.
me,
It was so cool.
See, thanks, Francisco. For me, that's like, I see all these stats walking by.
Yeah.
Oh, and get this. I got to enjoy a beer post-draft with Craig Weibel and Kelly Gray.
Oh, that would have had to have been epic.
Wow, the stories those guys have.
It was beautiful. And especially that Kelly Gray remembered me because he kind of knew who I was when he was, I knew Craig would remember me, but it was funny. Craig had recently been traveling in Europe, and he said he got mistaken for Brad Friedel a couple times, and kept telling people like, "No, seriously, I am not
Craig Weibel.
I am not Brad Friedel.
I'm Weibel, not Friedel."
But the two of them were just so funny and chill together. And apparently, like Kelly Gray plays like rec soccer with Allie Wagner and her husband.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was just like I'm sitting around like.
Is that why he didn't look totally out of place during that charity match that they did?
So.
Because he didn't actually look totally out of place. I expected him to be way not.
Except
ready for that.
I remember when he walked out on the field, Kelly Gray. I was like, "You're whiter than you used to be."
Yeah, he clearly hasn't played outside in a while.
So we've got 5 minutes to cover 2 topics.
Okay,
Almost
I'll shut
5.
up now.
We got like 7.
5? What? Oh, because we need to go to break, or
Well, no, because we got to cut it short because we still got our closeout.
Yeah, I know.
Got cut it short for.
So why don't we do a quick break?
Okay. No, I'm not going to go to break. I don't have enough
Okay.
time for
All right. What's
Okay.
the 2
Topic
topics?
number
Start
one.
with
Ready,
topic
go.
Number 1. New Dynamo kit dropped.
Boo.
Like it?
All right, next.
Okay. No, just because you don't like it doesn't mean everybody else.
We talked about it 2 weeks ago. We talked about it last week.
Dynamo Power Hour.
You weren't here 2
I
weeks
wouldn't
ago.
kick it out of bed.
It's a good viewpoint.
It may not be sponge worthy, but I wouldn't kick it out of bed.
Edson, like, dislike?
Love it.
I do like it. I actually really like it.
Everyone in chat knows I hate this kit with a passion.
I just think it's
But then
fortuitous
again-
that it's got the Astro look to it. I got a sneak peek of it last summer when I was still at Soccer for All and had to place the order for it, and I was like, my immediate thought was Astro. So I think it's just kind of
It's a homage.
fortuitous that
It pays homage to the city.
I'm probably just very nitpicky. I'd rather have that homage be just a bit more on the jersey
Yeah, but if you
instead
look
of like literally this little square that's like 6 inches tall, or rectangle that's 6 inches tall.
You know what
here.
though? If you look at like traditional
Have you
European
seen-
kits,
By the way, have you seen the women's cut on that?
no, but
It
I know what
fits
the
terribly.
Adidas, all the Adidas women's cut are like, here my boobage.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
but if you look at traditional European kits, they don't do all
Megan,
that many
I'm
changes
killing
between
you when this
each
is
one.
over.
It's small tweaks. All they really did was take the chevron, flatten it out, and make it bigger.
It's basically Bayern Munich's old kit. It's just without the
We
fuchsia.
all
It's
know
got orange.
Adidas
Well-
recycles kits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just take a
Same
look.
with Nike.
Hey,
Just
I
take a
will
look.
I will take Adidas recycled kits over Nike's recycled kits.
Like the bomb
any
pop that
days.
everybody has?
Any days. Well, no. Even look at the current one
Yeah.
that they've been wearing, where ours looks just like Portugal and England.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, even the U.S. curling team is wearing that in the
Yep.
Olympics. So it's like, don't tell me, ooh, look how special it is.
I mean, just look at NYCFC's new kit. It's basically Columbia's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
just with their colors.
All right, we've beat that horse.
Okay,
let's move.
Last topic.
Take my money.
Because we are trying to watch the match, but of course, Go 90 keeps locking up.
At least it's not NWSL. It's nice to know it's not just NWSL that it locks up on.
Tigres or CCL CONCACAF Champions League did start today. First match being Tigres and how do you say it? I had
Herediano.
Herediano.
From
I
Costa
had
Rica.
it
You don't
before I
pronounce
started
the
the
H,
show.
You pronounce everything else.
Okay. They're currently playing right now. Tigres is up 2-0.
Gol de Mesa y del Chino se la rayan.
What he said.
Yeah.
Y sin Guiñac, papá.
9 o'clock tonight, we have MLS clubs Columbus taking on Colorado taking on Toronto.
And
FC.
isn't it like 10 degrees or something?
Last I checked, at kickoff, it's supposed to be like 8. Feel like 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
nice
really
weather.
need that fall to spring season, don't we?
Yeah.
What? You don't want to see players trying to play in like quarter-degree temperatures?
Are you into shrinkage that much?
Tomorrow, starting at 7 o'clock, we got Turo. Is it Turo?
What was it? Miazga? No, it wasn't Miazga. I don't know.
No, that's 9 o'clock.
No. The defender. Some defender. I'm bouncing off of her shrinkage thing. There was some defender in I don't remember what league it was, and he grabbed another guy's junk, no joke, and he honked it.
Is that like?
I don't know if he got a red card
Cup?
for it.
So that's the equivalent of booby honking, but what would you call it? Like cocky honking? Diggy honking?
Hose tugging.
But you have to have honking in there.
That's true. Honking.
Bro honking?
I don't know.
Junkie hunking?
We'll wait for the 15. We'll wait for the 15 minutes off KTXF.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Well,
I can't
and speaking of coldest soccer match in recorded history, I was at the Kansas City Dynamo playoff game 2013. It was 9 degrees outside. Chicken pull. Ew. Honking
Okay,
has to
next
be in
topic.
there.
We got Turo versus FC Dallas tomorrow. Saprissa versus Club America. Is it Motagua versus Tijuana. It's
At HEB Park.
Yes, it's essentially a home match for Tijuana. I would think.
Yeah.
I would think they'd have a lot of supporters there.
Tijuana is south of San Diego, which is many hundreds of
Compared-
miles
No.
west
Here's the thing, though. So this is
the
what
Rio Grande Valley.
Just something real quick. Okay, so like I said before the show started, I had an interview with someone that covers Tijuana, and I told him, while there isn't a lot of Tijuana fans in the Rio Grande Valley because it's such a new club, you know, you have a lot of ex-America players in Xolos, so you'll have a lot of America fans or Liga MX fans in general that are going to go.
I would think Liga MX fans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Plus, the Hondurans might travel from Houston down to the valley because
Yeah, that's true. And
I just remember when someone made a comment to me about like, well, you know, of course you're so close to Mexico,
quick,
and I'm like, Houston, 7 hours from Mexico.
Yes.
So how do you say their name again?
Motagua.
No, the team that's playing now.
Herediano.
Dave has put one back. It's 2-1.
In the 90th
Tigres.
minute.
In the 90th
Frozen
minute.
on Go 90.
Yeah.
But these games can end in a tie.
Correct.
Right?
Yes. And then
Yes.
Thursday, we have Cibao versus Chivas USA.
Chivas USA.
Chivas. Wow. I am off tonight.
Chivas
man.
Guadalajara.
That's what I meant. I should have just wrote Guadalajara.
Chivas USA back from the dead.
Yep. Then we have Seattle playing 9 o'clock Thursday. And Olympia versus New York Red Bulls. That match will be played behind closed doors in Costa Rica due to 2017 sanctions from CCL on Olympia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which I think that plays in the Red Bulls' favor.
Yeah.
Yeah, you still have to travel, but now you're not playing in front of everybody.
Yeah.
You know, maybe a Red Bulls advance. Maybe. I mean, because you still got to go back up to Harrison and play up there.
Yeah.
I think it helps to have for New York having the away leg first.
Yeah. Sean and I did do the predictor that they have on CCL's website. I actually have Toronto winning it. If Toronto can get past Tigres, because I do also think that Tigres will advance out of this round. I don't see them beating Toronto. I don't. Shut up, Edson. Of course you're going to pull for them.
But I still think the alternating seasons comes into play.
Yeah.
Where, you know, these guys are kind of beginning of their season and Tigres is in a different place in their season.
I think and I don't have the answers. We've debated this before. If MLS wants to take it seriously, you need to start preseason earlier.
It's already pretty early, and
But if you
and
wanna
MLS
compete in
Cup
CCL,
runs.
'cause-
But MLS Cup runs
Yeah.
pretty late.
But weren't they doing that?
But
though?
you're not gonna you're not gonna be you're not gonna change CCL. CCL's not gonna come down and be
No.
like, okay, we'll bump this back. a week.
But I'm saying, but do you shift MLS so maybe it finishes a little earlier because they're almost getting to the point where it's a 12-month season.
And I see both sides of it because you can't start it any earlier because then Toronto's going to be under
Right.
5 feet of snow.
Right.
Columbus is going to be Columbus,
Or do you
Colorado.
just do earlier preseason for the teams that are in CCL?
Earlier preseason.
Just for those.
Yeah, and then
Just
have
for
them
those.
play friendlies starting January 1 against other teams that are open to play friendlies in Mexico.
Well, Toronto did it with
Honduras.
America.
They did.
Maybe slightly bigger rosters.
Yes. How would that? I mean, I guess that could work.
And Herediano just tied the game. I ain't worried.
Oh,
93rd
well, this makes it all interesting.
Yeah. But then again, you're
But
going
it's
to go
their
to
home game
Alberth.
because now you're going.
Yeah.
Tigres gets the home game. Interesting.
Interesting.
Let's go down to watch that game next week. Next week. Is that
I
when it
wish,
is?
but I work.
But are the return games? They're all next week, right?
Yes, they're a following week. Yeah.
Okay.
Starting Tuesday. I
I
will go ahead.
miss Champions League. I miss going down to Cancun to see Dynamo get creamed by Atlante, or going down to Panama to see them getting slaughtered by Arabe Unido.
I just wish that there was enough of a backing from MLS and the clubs for Champions League. I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't. You're playing the better teams or the other best teams from your side of the world. Why not bump it up? You want to put MLS up here.
How do you feel about the Club World Cup? I mean, the ultimate payoff here is if you win CONCACAF Champions League, you have a spot at the Club World
Yes.
Cup. And I've heard the argument, it's like, oh, that's great exposure, and we get to play someone like Madrid. It's like, yeah.
Yeah,
but,
you get to play somebody like Madrid.
But like in December, somewhere in Asia, so that the game here is at 6 a.m., like, is it a payoff? And I'm not decided either way, but the Club World Cup is still this strange thing. And
Yeah.
I know CONCACAF Champions League has come a long way, but it is a long way to go. Obviously, it's not UEFA Champions League.
Stat I wanted to throw in before we end the show tonight because we got to kick it over to Josh Fuller. Prior to it being called the CONCACAF Champions League, we have said before that no MLS team has won it. Yes, under its current format. But there has been 2 MLS clubs to win the CONCACAF Champions Cup.
DC and LA?
DC United in LA, DC in 98, LA in 2002.
Yeah.
And
When it went straight to quarterfinals,
Yep.
had no group stage.
Yeah.
Right.
full time 2-2.
Yeah. That was all Nahuel's fault on the second goal.
God, could you imagine what Madrid would do, even against a team like Toronto? That wouldn't be fun to watch.
Do you remember the Pan Pacific Cup?
That was
The
before
game
my
the game in Hawaii where we got creamed by
That was
a
before
Japan
my soccer
team
watching time.
6-0 at Aloha Stadium. They're like, yeah, we're not doing this tournament again.
Let me go ahead and get us closed out on KTXF. Thank you guys for tuning in to tonight's edition of the Peel on KTXF-db, the real part of the Texas Sports Review Media Network. Thank you to everyone that tuned in on YouTube and Facebook. If you haven't already, go ahead and give this video a like, go ahead and share it and subscribe to our channel to get notified when the Peel or Down in the Valley go live. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at the Peel05. Like us on Facebook at the Peel 2005, and be sure to check out our site, thepeellive.com, provided and hosted by Embrace Fusion Web Services for Business. Be sure to also follow Edson and his show Down in the Valley on YouTube, and follow him on Twitter at Down in the RGV. Lastly, be sure to visit our friends over at Dynamo Theory. Check out their site, dynamotheory.com, and follow them on Twitter at Dynamo Theory for all your Houston Dynamo and Dash news. Be sure to tune in again next week, live Tuesday at 7 p.m. Sean's gone.
And come meet me at the
Yes.
night before party in April.
Yes.
Saturday, April 7th, will be at the Phoenix on Westheimer, 6:30 to 10 p.m. Raffle, highlights, trivia, and free appetizers the first hour for anybody in USA gear.
Yes. And as always, guys, I'm Justin.
I'm Sean.
I'm Edson.
And I'm the keeper.
Forever Orange, guys.
Oh no, we're not done.
No, we
have
do.
YouTube for 15 minutes.
Yeah, we just do YouTube. We
Take
just talk to people.
It's a QA session.
Yeah.
Like
Live.
it hasn't been the whole time?
Well, no. We give them after the break. We let them do it. ask
Let's just
questions.
do trivia questions.
That's fine. No, we're totally okay with that. They love that stuff too. Are you kidding me?
I need to let
And now I'm gonna have to find
Josh know
Bonnie
that I'm
at
sorry that we
Garcia.
bled over like an extra minute.
Thank you, Brian Lockridge, for following the mix zone.
Oh, it's okay. He
Yes.
probably cut us off anyways.
No, he didn't.
Oh, he saved it for. He waited for us.
Well, yeah, because I went off at like exactly 9.
Okay, another funny story for you guys
Good.
that does not involve the word cock. So, in WSA, they had a team in New York on Long Island called the New York Power. And they were looking at the end of the 2002 season to possibly move them. They were the weakest team in terms of attendance. And I know that that December, UT hosted the women's Final Four for college soccer. So you had Tony DeChico and a lot of the WSA executives go down to Austin to check it out as like, hey, maybe, it's a good venue. It's a 20,000 seater. Of course, UT would never really let you rent it out, as we know. But I realized if they moved New York Power to Austin, they would be the Austin Power playing in the Mike Myers Stadium.
Oh, that would be gross.
I mean, obviously they changed it, but the Austin Power in the Mike Myers Stadium. That's the name of the stadium at UT.
That's hilarious.
So
Look at those fans out there in like 8 degrees, 6 degrees, 5-degree weather.
Wow.
Snow.
hey, at least they're hosting Toronto, another team that's like, eh.
You notice it's just them. There's really not anyone
Yeah.
else in that stadium, and it's an outdoor stadium, so I can't blame them.
This reminds me. Did you guys ever go to Interliga?
Megan did. Megan went.
Yeah.
So Cisco says thank you for joining, and then Darby says yes, thanks, Jen. More
Is that
girl
an
action,
eggplant?
less
It is.
Is eggplant like? A fake?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's exactly.
It's what I thought.
It's
It's what I
exactly what
thought,
you
yeah.
thought. Yeah.
I just remember one Interliga, so we would have two doubleheaders like 2 or 3 days apart. So the Saturday doubleheader, the second game of the doubleheader was the Classico. So, Chivas America, people were like pulling the bars apart at Robertson to sneak in and jumping over, and they're always, so it was totally overrun, sold out, standing room only. 2 days later, Monday night, total cold wave, like it had been like maybe 60 degrees on Saturday. It was like 25 degrees and raining. And we had the no-name teams like Tecos versus Jaguaras, and they were like 1,500 people in the stadium.
Andreas, no, they must be serving beer. They just showed a guy on TV holding a beer.
It could have been. Well, yeah.
And this is live.
Yeah. No. They
Those
must be
poor
selling it.
kids.
Yeah, standing out there just waiting.
Hey, Mom, I get to be a match boy. All right.
So we're obviously back. We're live for 15 minutes for you guys that are sitting here on YouTube. We appreciate you guys.
Beer snow cones.
If you guys have questions for Jen or for us, feel free to shoot them out, and we'll be happy to answer them. Or if
I
you
can-
don't answer,
I
and
can
if you
ask
don't
trivia
ask any, she's going to
questions.
ask you questions, and you're not going to be able to answer them. Maybe Cisco, maybe Blues, but other than that, you're probably not going to answer them.
How
Now-
cool-
But I love trivia, so go for it.
I think this answer is still correct, but this was one of our favorite jokes on the Keeper Note Soccer Show, was the all-time leading score for Dynamo Charities Cup.
Oh.
Oh.
But FMF Ray tried to catch me off guard thinking I wouldn't know it, and I just looked at him and I said, Domino Goduro. And then we both burst out laughing. Though that was a couple years ago, so I don't know.
Nobody's scored more than 2 in a match.
So it might still be
I
Oduro, but
think
it's
it's
that
still
kind of thing
Oduro.
that it's like just the irony in that was so beautiful.
Absolutely.
Was so beautiful. Yeah.
God,
Well,
looks so miserable.
And I feel so sad. Like Rico's gone.
Somebody's like, what the hell did I get myself into?
Well,
There's Hal.
there's our last remnant of the original Dynamo, and in a way, I think it's fitting that it's like, okay, we need to totally turn the corner on that and stop harking on that. I think it's kind of funny that some of the press releases that we're getting from the Dynamo are like, look, we've been to the finals 4 times, and none of these other Houston teams.
The new one's by Zach. Zach does
Yeah.
like a daily Dynamo thing now.
Yeah, and it's like,
It's okay, Zach. We still love you.
it's like you have to promote that stuff, but I feel like it's like, but we haven't been to the final since 2012, so I just think that's a weird thing to highlight. So in a way, it's like, okay, Rico's gone. It sucks to lose Rico. Oh, poor Josie Altidore. Like,
I'm
what
sure
the hell?
Josie just was like, "What the hell are we doing in this call?"
Yeah.
Like he literally had his arms crossed and he said something out loud. Like,
Well, we all know he has sensitive nipples.
well, yeah, okay. So Hal says, Jen, if he was you, he would have demanded the show be done at Eighth Wonder before he came on.
I know, but you're a pansy and you're worried about the weather.
I wasn't.
No, it's not necessarily the weather. Well,
we end up
especially
with the sound quality ends up significantly
being in that room,
less.
it echoes really bad. It sounds like garbage.
The last time I was there with you guys, we were outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
it was
outside is pretty
outside's
solid.
fine. It's one of those things that
If it's gonna rain though, they'll typically bring us inside. They won't let us do outside.
Yeah, and that's not a good room. But
we have better
But
options.
Hal, pretty soon they're going to be broadcasting from a very special location.
Maybe,
Yes.
possibly.
No, just a
Hopefully.
special location.
Hopefully.
Secret,
Justin's living room, right?
undisclosed.
Justin's living room.
Yeah.
Nana
Let's see.
Boateng, huh?
They have a pretty much starting lineup going for them. They're normal starters minus maybe 2 or 3.
Okay, this would be much better if they actually had snow as opposed to just like frozen cold sucks.
So,
snow at least makes it interesting. Like think about
How-
the snow game against Costa Rica.
How let it be known, we did actually offer Jen beer prior to this, but she's on medication because she's sinus sick. So she made the decision not to drink beer. So just let it be known, we did offer. So even though we're not at Eighth Wonder, we did offer beer.
On another note with this this
beer?
match, no, Colorado has already came out and pretty much said that they are not taking CCL seriously.
Al says
they
he'll be
don't
over
care.
in 15 or so. Sweet, come on.
They don't care. Now, Toronto FC, from what I've read and heard, this is their priority.
Yep.
Until about mid-season. Because, let's face it, MLS, you could be average until the last half of the season.
Yeah.
And that's when you make your push.
Not tonight, Darby. There won't be a like fest for puppy time unless you're talking about when we move to whatever new location we end up moving to. Then there won't be able to be like fest for Brutus time because there will
We'll
be
get
no
it in.
Brutus.
We still got a couple more shows.
We'll find a way
Yeah.
to make it work.
I'll just keep throwing Brutus pictures up. Like, I'll just get a slideshow of Brutus
little
and have it
movies,
constantly play.
little movies. Yeah.
We don't have that yet.
So nobody has asked any questions, Jen. So we're at 7 minutes. So it's trivia time.
Let's talk. Let's talk a little more NWSL.
Okay.
So we should have this full schedule drops tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Season
I'm
kicks
putting
off.
air quotes because I don't believe it. Even if it is tomorrow, it'll be like we all expect it by noon, and it'll be like 6 o'clock at night when they finally release it.
Yeah. So season starts the weekend of March 24th, 25th,
Yes.
earliest it's ever started.
Yes.
They shifted it up because you've got World Cup qualifying for the women CONCACAF tournament in October. So the whole season will be the championship game will be September 22nd, so a little earlier. You've got 9 teams with Boston folding, which kind of sucks for various reasons, but it also means with a 24-game season, we get a balanced schedule for the first time since 2014. So you play every team 3 times. Nice. You don't have the weird 2016 schedule where they said, okay, you play everybody twice, except the team closest to you, you play 4 times.
Yeah,
which was awkward.
Weird.
Last year they did a mix of some teams twice, some teams 3.
You know, I actually kind of don't mind that. Now, it'd be different if you had teams a little closer to you, so you could build a rivalry type deal like Seattle and Portland.
Some of the pairs worked.
Yeah.
Seattle-Portland worked. I thought
I think
Sky
that's
Blue
natural.
Spirit worked,
Yeah.
but the big argument was Western New York got paired with Boston. Boston was incredibly weak.
Yeah.
Western New York had a ridiculous goal differential against them. And Seattle-Portland also felt like, wow, we're 2 of the strongest clubs, and we're having to play each other more.
Yeah, it
So
weighted towards certain teams
yeah,
simply
like,
because they're geographically
I definitely
aligned.
agree with play those teams more, but going to playing them 4 when you're playing everybody else 2 is a little too extreme. So I think, yes, last year was better where it's some 2, some 3.
Let me ask you this. Does Dallas get a team with the Hall of Fame being there now and with the background that Dallas has and their
You mean Frisco? They don't have a team in Dallas.
Okay, you know what I mean. With Lamar's
I had to get it in.
Hunt being named, or named being tied in up there, and how
No.
none at all.
Well, keep in mind, I think it's easy for us as fans to forget that the league doesn't sit there and go, ooh, where are we going to put a team?
Yeah.
That they are
They're
hopefully
waiting for
fielding
investment.
offers,
Yeah.
like you want a local investor who has a reasonable venue situation. Obviously, there's a reasonable venue situation there. Key thing is, does the Hunt family have any interest in going down that going down that road. There was apparently supposed to be a Dallas team in the WPS, the league that was 2009 to 2011, and it just kind of disappeared before the league even started. I do not know if that was Hunt family related or not, but given that they tend to be one of the cheaper teams in MLS, I don't necessarily see that. We know that San Antonio was interested at a certain point. Not sure if they're still interested in that. I'd love to have another team in Texas because we are so far from the other teams, especially with now you don't have Kansas City anymore. You know, I would love to have a rivalry team.
Didn't
like that.
I know I think it was WPSL, but didn't San Antonio lose the Athenians?
I think they did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They announced,
especially as you know, you lost the Scorpions and it became San Antonio FC. I think a lot of the yeah.
So
hey, but how's Kubo doing in Pumas?
I was gonna say Liga MX question for you.
Okay, so he's been coming in as off the bench.
So super sub last how many minutes? He's
Super sub.
10, 5
Maybe
minutes.
like
10
15.
minutes.
Say super sub.
He has done nothing.
So he hasn't scored a goal.
No.
Has he
Nada.
looked bad?
No,
Has
it's
he looked bad?
It's going to take him 2 years to score a goal in Liga MX. Saying
2?
3.
This is Liga MX. I think it's probably like 5.
And people are
Liga MX is a more. So side note.
And
real
do we
quick.
remember the last match that Rico scored in? I don't know.
Who was it against?
Oh man.
It's usually a low-driven ball. From
Yeah, no,
distance.
it was definitely a low-driven ball.
I can visualize so many
I
of
can
those, but I can't
see
really
it.
put dates on any
Yeah,
of
it
them.
was a Rico shot from. I'm pretty sure. No. That one was, and Cisco, correct me if I'm wrong. That one was really just a tap in by Rico. He just happened to kind of be in the box and just happened to get that ball. And I could be wrong if I'm remembering the goal. It was a home match though. It wasn't an away match. Cisco.
Well, here's
Another-
another weird factoid for you for Rico. 2 MLS Cup wins with Houston. Didn't play in either one of those games.
Yeah, I knew that, Cisco.
Another question for you. Because I'm also really big in the US Open Cup and I love it. Do you see a women's tournament with club level teams opposed, you know?
Well, a lot of that is dependent on WPSL and the UWS, which is going into its second season. I think once we see some more stability from that, I think that's a possibility going forward. And they've tried it a few times, but I don't mean to throw shade at WPSL, but those clubs come and go so quickly. It's hard to get info off their website. One of the things talking to JP Delacamera yesterday, it was really great to hear him say about UWS that he loved that he's like, on the surface everything is professional. Like their website is updated immediately, that they don't cancel games. And so if we can see some more growth like that, I think a women's US Open Cup is a natural extension. Until we have some stability like that, then you're really just what already exists, which is the U.S. Women's Amateur Cup, you know, which has been around a long time. And there's teams from Houston that have won that in the past, but that's just random rec teams coming together. And by rec, I don't mean that they're low quality. They're just amateurs who are done with college who are still playing at a high level.
For Dynamo Theory, when I would just put together scores from the area for the Houston Hoedown, I could easily find anything from the Houston Aces. I always forget which one was in UWS.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
No, it
Aces.
wasn't
The
the
Aces were
WPSL.
WPSL.
Why can I not remember their name?
TTI Titans.
Yeah, Houston Titans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or TTI Blue Bonnets, maybe?
No. It was
Houston Titans.
yeah, it was the Texas Titans.
Okay.
I
couldn't
could
remember which
always
one, yeah.
find their info and their roster, who scored, how many, whatever. When it came to the WPSL, I'd have to wait 3-4 days to find anything out about a match.
And it's the kind of thing, I'm sure you're like I am, where it's like you would love to share this information with people. You'd love to help them promote. Like if there's not information, if there's not a current link, if there's not a confirmed anything, like I'm not going to promote a game that I know has an 80% chance of the time being shifted.
Yeah.
Because someone goes out there and it's
And it was,
and that's a challenge. That's not something that they're doing on purpose, but it's like it's a huge, complicated business to run.
You could also see in the division Houston South Select were in, and the Houston Aces, not the Houston Aces. Houston Aces. compared to everybody else that was in. There was one team that would destroy everybody, and that was the Bluebonnets.
Yeah.
And then nobody else that could really
Well,
do anything.
and you had some of the Dash players that were Dash training players playing for the Bluebonnets or coaching the Bluebonnets. You know, so you had the guy running TTI was the assistant coach for the Dash the first season. So you know, you have someone that's pretty connected. I think also the challenge for Texas, you know, so spread out, everything's so big. The other population centers are not nearby. So even if there are other teams, your travel is still pretty far. Where you think about the Eastern Seaboard. So, you know, JP Dellacamera can have a team in Farmington, Connecticut, and there are 8 other teams within a decent bus ride.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just things
throw
are so
them
spread
on
out
the
here.
Acela and get to DC in 2 hours.
I mean,
So we've seen California and Eastern Seaboard tend to have the best development in these leagues because there's enough population and development in large cities close to each other that they can get enough teams going. So, you know, some of those clubs have lasted a long time, like Pally Blues or California Storm and WPSL, because they've got that consistent support.
Yeah. Well, we've hit our 15 minutes.
We have. Nobody asked.
Our
And you
15 minutes of fame.
you didn't mention the what you were gonna say.
Damn, I gotta be open.
I think because we were talking about Kubo and Liga MX.
Oh.
Okay, question for Justin.
Liga
Question
MX
for
related.
Justin.
Oh, I'm gonna give you fair warning. My soccer knowledge dates.
No,
to
it's
the
not a
union.
trivia question. It's a projection.
Okay.
Who is going to win the 2019 Women's World Cup? That's his beard saying, I don't know. Or, okay, let's make it a trivia question. No, because the qualifying's not done yet. Let's see.
Well, I mean, my easy penciling would be the U.S. I mean, but if I had to pick a close second,
Hal says Australia. Ooh, Iceland. Nice one, Andrew.
I'm going dark horse. You ready for this? Canada.
Wow.
I think they have
I
a
thought,
chance.
Mine's a
I thought
toss-up.
Canada could almost pull it off in
They've
2015.
got
They came
chances
close.
to surprise teams.
mine's a
Still.
toss-up. I'd say France or Germany. I think both of them are
South
really
Korea.
hungry.
Get out of here, Cisco.
Really hungry.
France, if they can handle the pressure of being the home team and turn it into like a 1998 situation, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, Mexico.
I think they're too
no.
Not yet.
new at women's soccer
I
being
think
big.
Mexico is going to rock the U20
yeah.
Women's World Cup this summer in France.
Yeah.
They're going to rock it. Emily
Give them one
Alvarado,
more cycle.
I love her.
Give them one more cycle, and I think the Mexican women team give the U.S. some trouble. Do you see a big rivalry blooming out of that once the Mexican
Finally.
system
See,
gets big?
Here's the thing, and I think I was talking
It should.
to
Yeah.
somebody on Twitter about that. I think it was Webb. So Webb asked why, why
Of
there
course
was
it
a
was
lot
Webb.
why there's a lot of Mexican Americans, that are moving to play with the Mexican national team.
But that's not new.
And the thing
Yeah.
about it is
Don't
that
get me started.
the thing about it is that they see that there's less competition in the Mexican national team to fight for a top spot compared to U.S. soccer. So
Yeah.
that's why you see most Mexican American
What's the
girls.
reverse? It's the reverse of the men's national team. It's the
Though-
women's national team is stacked, and it's harder to get
Right.
into.
But keep in mind, that's a big reason that Liga MX Femenil is open to Mexican-born players only, that they are trying really hard. And there has been a big shift.
Yeah.
The Mexican national team does not have the number of Mexican Americans
was
that
Brian.
that it used to.
Yeah.
It used to have so many more.
It was actually Brian Lockridge.
Yeah. But what's funny is you've got it actually going both ways on the women's side as well. So Sofia Huerta, she played for the Mexico U20s because she had the opportunity to, but deliberately did not go into World Cup qualifying them so she wouldn't be cup tied, and eventually got her shot with the U.S.
Yeah.
Now, conversely, you've got players like Teresa Noyola, Bianca Henninger, played U20s with the U.S. under Jill Ellis, played at the 2010 U20 World Cup. Bianca winning the Golden Glove at that tournament under Jill Ellis, and never, ever got a call-up for the senior team. And I asked Randy Waldrum about it at one point, because he was the U23 coach before he was Dash coach, and he said it was made very clear to me that they didn't want anybody that wasn't at least 5'9".
Yeah.
B wasn't 5'9", so it's like, well, wait, why did you bother, why do we bother developing that player if, and how about a coach of you that you can't take a 5'7" female and make a decent keeper out of her? And speaking of short women that play for the Mexican national team, Ari Romero, I think she's Iceland. I think she was playing, but she still gets called up to the Mexican national team. So I'm really hoping we're going to see Ari at the games at the game at BBVA in April. We could see, how cool would this be? Bianca Henninger in goal for Mexico, facing Jane Campbell for the U.S. Both dash keepers. We could see Teresa Niola again, who played for the dash. We could also see Emily Alvarado, who I mentioned before with the U20. So there's a lot of potential there. And you mentioned, could this be a rivalry? And I think it's finally getting there. When you look at the last few times we played them, we haven't played them in 2 years. And the last time we played them in Olympic qualifying, they held the U.S. to no goals till the 85th minute, where we finally earned a PK. The keeper saved the PK, and we only scored off the rebound. So it's like a 1-0, performance. And I look at that CONCACAF U20 tournament last month, and I cannot wait to see these matches in April. I feel like it's that commercial. This is not your father's Oldsmobile. This is not your father's Mexico women's national team. This is a whole new world.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and close it out for tonight. I've got to be up in
big
4
baby.
hours.
He's got to be up early.
Yeah.
He works
Thanks,
early on
work.
Wednesday mornings.
Thanks, guys, for tuning in.